Hello, everybody. Welcome into our latest live broadcast. It is May the 4th be with you, Sunday, 2025, 4th of May. Welcome in. Today, we have a mini PC review for you today. I am not reviewing or showcasing as many mini PCs as we did last year. However, also starting to see a little bit of a shakeout as I anticipated with some of the smaller brands that we don't see much coming from anymore. And we see new brands popping in. And one that's really establishing themselves, in my opinion, is a company called Peladin. And Peladin also they operate under three names, Triku and WO7. And you'll notice their model numbers are usually about the same, W04, W07, et cetera, et cetera. And they're built with the same quality, and everything is in my opinion, very well made and aggressively priced, which is what I'm looking at, except other companies that we've gotten to know have kind of gone silent. And these other companies we've never, I wouldn't say we've never heard from, but we heard a little bit from last year. We're hearing a lot more from this year as they ramp up and become more competitive in the space. And this is really starting to create a shakedown, if you will, of the cream rising to the top, and who's gonna outlast Survivor kind of a thing. And Peladin really surprised me because I didn't expect more than a handful of machines from them any more than anybody else whose name was not commonplace for folks in the industry, right? None of these mini PC makers are household names except maybe Intel or Asus, and even then Asus. So when you talk to the average person, they know what Amazon is, you know. They know all of the household names here in the States, but they don't know really any of the mini PC makers anymore. So Peladin's been around for a while, and I think they're the brand to watch right now for innovation and aggressive pricing as an up-and-comer. And they've been an up-and-comer for a while, but it's really starting to get my attention that the machines they're making, they seem to keep offering more and more different models. And that's what I want to see. I want to see a manufacturer who does more than just one or two or three. I want to see regular innovation coming out. And Peladin has been impressing me with the sheer number of new introductions of product that they have, along with a reasonable price. We've seen some other companies, they're struggling, and you can tell that they're struggling based on how much more expensive they are than an equivalently priced model from a competitor. And you know, that's sad for me because we have some very promising other mini PC manufacturers that they just priced themselves out. You know, one of the things you have to do when you're starting in this competitive industry is give people a reason to try your new brand. And by charging more, that's just not a recipe that's going to work for you. So we'll see if these other makers get that figured out, or manufacturers, I should say. But in the meantime, I wanted to focus today on a new model from Peladin. I will also be showcasing later on a new model from Triku, which is different. Even though Peladin makes them, it's not the same config. And also a new model from WO7, which is more of their budget line. And they're all going to be different prices, but they all kind of come from the same parent company. Now, they're not paying me to do this, obviously. I think if you're regular here, you'll know I don't get paid to do these. I am genuinely interested in them, and I think you may be as well. My goal here today isn't to advise you to buy anything. My goal is to introduce you to a product and a company, and for you to weigh that against what your needs and budget are and decide accordingly. So with that, let me say hello to everybody hanging out with us this Sunday afternoon. Let me jump over to the chat room here. Hey, Kenneth Brown just became a new member today. Thank you, Kenneth. Thank you for joining our tech club. You know, every Monday at 1 o'clock Arizona time, we do members-only videos. Those videos are never made public, and they're a much smaller turnout because it's more informal and intimate. It's more of a hangout among friends, and as a member, that's part of what comes with your membership, is that exclusive tech club access. Also, our archive videos that are over 12 months old. We've been making videos here since 2008. And in order to entice people to help support us so we can stay away from corporate advertising, much as the way of many YouTube channels these days, I don't want to sell out and want to continue to make the videos I want to make with the products I'm genuinely interested in. And I know it's not going to get me rich, but on the other hand, without the support of the viewers, and I keep saying it over and over because, you know, just like anything else viewers supported, we rely on our audience in order to pay for the content that we bring you, or we rely on the kindness of companies that will send us products for free in exchange for a review, but no other conditions. They don't get to preview it before we show it to you, which is what happens on a paid. Obviously, they're going to pay because they want it to be positive, or they want certain features to be highlighted. We don't make those agreements here, just so you know. And if you appreciate that transparency, that honesty, and that sort of straightforward non-salesmanship, like if I come across as enthusiastic about a product, it's because I am. It's not because I'm getting paid to do it. If anything, you guys are the ones paying me. So at the end of the day, you guys will decide how successful this channel will become based on if you choose to support this business model. Otherwise, you know, there's plenty of other YouTube channels doing the traditional thing, but they're mostly making commercials. It depends, not everybody, but it's hard to know what's going on behind the scenes financially to understand if what you're watching is a commercial or a review. So here you can rest assured, it's always a review. And I wouldn't even call it a review. I'd say it's more of a product introduction and an overview. There's a difference. It may be a little early whether or not I can review something having just unboxed it 20 minutes ago. You know what I mean? And that's what we're going to do here live. It's still shrink wrapped, right? We're going to have a real experience here. We'll see how it's packed, what version of Windows it has installed, if Secure Boot is turned on, how fast the drive is it SATA or NVMe, all that sort of stuff. We do it live, uncut, unscripted, and unrehearsed. Where else are you going to find that? As far as I know, it's the only place on the internet that does that. And so as long as I can continue to do things unique and different, well, I want to keep doing it. And thank you for making it possible. Folks like Kenneth Brown, who just became a member, make this possible. Mark Gaines, also another very generous member here, has contributed 10 pounds, joining us from Northern Ireland. And Mark says, hello, Carey, Mara, and everyone in the chat. Cheers, Mark. Dustin Fuller says hello, and of course, Mara, our channel administrator, hanging out with us. I see Darren Gilholm and Doman 2000. Doman joins us from the Netherlands. Eric Turner's looking at the price on this. He's already ahead of us. We're going to get into that in a minute, Eric. Andy Kane says hello from Ireland. El Perez and Michael Shaw are joining us. Oh, good to see you, Michael. I haven't seen you in a while. Let's see, we've got John and Luke Greenia, Sam Nason. Ben Laird from Scotland says hello. Phil Stodd says hello. $2 from our friend Dustin Fuller. Thank you, Dustin. Jeff Adams saying hello from Michigan. Hey, that's my home. My home. Welcome in, Jeff. If you're from Michigan, you're okay with me. I'll tell you that right now. Pixelbyte saying hello, and Lloyd Bitchin saying hello. John says it's easy like Sunday afternoon. Thank you, Lionel Richie. Commodores. And Nicholas Barlow says hello. Frank Jimmy joining us. Patrick T says hello. And Wassam says good afternoon. Welcome in, everybody. I hope I got it. Oh, Lawrence Pierre says hello. There. Now I hope I got everybody. And yeah. So today we're looking at the Peladin W7. What is it? Well, we're going to learn this together. I don't even know. Like, I remember reading the specs a few days ago. I've read a lot since then. Can't remember. So let's take a look over at Peladin's website. Just look and see how they're promoting it. We know everything that the manufacturers are posting about their products is real. That's why I think a lot of reviews don't make any sense, because you're never going to see better than whatever the review says. But okay. Be that as it may, it's a 7735U. That tells us it's AMD. And looks like, I don't know, the specs here are a little bit Open for interpretation. Oh, I see. Thread 16 system is Linux. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Bluetooth 5.2, Wi-Fi 6, DDR5, and an NVMe SSD. So they didn't just say SSD, they specify what it's got. There's our numbers on Cinebench R23 for multi-core and single-core. It's a 4.75 gig processor with a 30-watt TDP, 8 cores with 16 threads, and 16 meg of L3 cache that's built on the CPU. All right, and that's what it looks like. These are all of our ports here. We've got DisplayPort, a couple of USB 2s, Ethernet there. We've got a USB Type-C up there along with an HD output and a barrel-style power connector. And in the front, we see some USB 3.2s, a USB-C headphone or headset, microphone jack there, and a big blue power button. I like that big power button. Sometimes I have trouble finding the power buttons on these little guys. I try to reach and feel for them, and oftentimes I can't find it, and so I have to turn it around and look at it. And you know, it's a little tiny button about, I don't know, half that size. Anyway, over at Amazon, just in case you're curious, they do sell this at Amazon, and the model we're looking at today is this one here on the screen. It says it supports up to 4 displays at the same time. So that's going to be one display out via DisplayPort, one display out via HDMI, and then you can use these 2 Type-Cs, one in the front, one in the back, to go to DisplayPort or HDMI for 2 additional monitors. That's how they get to 4. There's a $60 coupon right here, right now, and I don't know how long this is valid. So it's going to take that $380 price down to $320. Okay, $320. Okay. Free delivery is what? About 5 days delivery. That's not bad, at least for me. Oh, Prime members can get it tomorrow. Even better. And because it's coming from Amazon, you have that 30-day refund replacement guarantee where you can send it back for any reason to Amazon. You don't have to have a reason, just because. So you can try it yourself, so you don't have to listen to a review. Just listen to the specs, look at the price, see that it's, you know, buyer satisfaction guaranteed, and you can buy it and try it yourself and decide for yourself. So a little bit of information here regarding the RAM, the storage, the CPU. The Wi-Fi is not 6E or 7, but most people won't see any benefit from 6E or 7. That doesn't break my heart. OS is pre-installed, and yeah, there's the interfaces: 2 USB 3.2, 2 USB 2.0. The Type-Cs are USB 3.2. They are not USB 4. The LAN does not say if it's 2.5 or is it 1. We're going to find out. Is there any reviews on it already? This may be so new. Let's see. Scrolling. 2.4 pounds is the package weight as it ships. Got the anti-theft, the Kensington lock there on the back. Everything in the box, it says. We're going to get the machine, some manual, an HDMI cable, a power adapter, and a VESA mount. Pretty standard. And here's some ways in which this computer can be used. They do show gaming, and yes, this can be used for gaming. However, within reason, you know, you can crank some settings down, maybe run 1080, you'll be fine. And yeah, we're so early on this, nobody has reviewed it yet. All right, we get to be the first. Very good. So let me just scroll up here, take it back to the top. The link for this Amazon link and the link for the product page from Peladin, the master product page, are in our video notes below this video. And if you want to reach out to them, Peladin directly with any questions. What's interesting, I noticed it says Linux here, but when I scroll down, I think I saw Windows, didn't I? Now I'm confused which one it comes with. Where did I see Windows? I swear I just saw it. More models, in case you're curious. They have lots of other models to choose from. You'll see the W04 comes in 4 different flavors. In other words, we've got the 125H Ultra processors from Intel, or the 6900 and 6600 from AMD. I swear I just saw Windows on this somewhere. Was it over here? Operating system is OS. Oh, that's not it. Wi-Fi. OS pre-installed. It comes with multiple interfaces. It comes with the OS pre-installed. It supports Linux Ubuntu. I'd swear I saw Windows on here. Well, we're going to find out today because that's what we do. Now, they do recommend this for business use, but that can also mean general household use. Anything not defined as gaming, and it will do some gaming, obviously, as I mentioned. All right, let me get back over to camera 1. Here I am. And then let me also bring up my chat room. There you are. Hey, there's Ken, or Find Me in Hawaii, contributing $9.99 to our super chat. Thank you, Ken. He says he's just dropping in briefly. Enjoyed the KVM sessions. Thanks, Ken. I got another KVM to review, the Nano KVM, which I should get middle of this week, this upcoming week, I hope. Thankfully, we're getting a little bit of a reprieve from the summer weather starting here in Phoenix. So we should have a little bit of a cool down. Not that you guys care, but I care. It's a little overcast today. It might even rain today or tomorrow. So I'm enjoying it while I can. It's the calm before the excessive and oppressive heat begins for the next 4 months here. So yeah, I am really savoring what we have left of this nice weather. Dan Nilsson says hello, as does Richard DeFries. Eugene Hildago joining us. Phil Stodd. Jerry Kelly. Jeff Adams. John Williams saying hello. There's John Kennedy. Good to see you, John. He says, I bought a basic mini forum and it's perfect. Thanks, Gary. Yeah, it's a great brand. Mental says, here in Sweden. Welcome in, Sweden. Jack Kugelmess just joins us and says hello. If you're watching this video live, you really need to be interacting with us because you're missing every content creator on YouTube that does not interact with their audience is missing the point of YouTube. You might as well go watch TV. Here, to be able to interact with the content creator, especially with a content creator that interacts back, but not only that, within the community itself, there's so much interaction going on between community members here that it's just something unique and different that I think is the future of this or any other platform. It's the involvement of the listener. Enough of the days of radio, enough of the days of television where you're just a passive listener. Come and join us. You are welcome. Just come on in, say hello. Doesn't cost you anything. Just don't be a jerk. That's literally what it costs, is don't be a jerk. So if you can't afford that, then stay out. We'd love to have you in here. It's a great community, and there's plenty of room for more like-minded individuals. We'd love to see you. Let us know where you're watching us from. That's a good way to say hello and start off a conversation that you never know. Just saying hello, even if you think it's awkward or weird, just watch what happens next. It's pretty cool. Abdul Azim Patel renews membership, now a member for 29 months. Thank you, Abdul. Samuel Nason said, the best tech channel on YouTube. I love being here. We love having you here. Thank you for your kind words. Flattery will get you everywhere. Let's do some unboxing. I've been enjoying sitting behind the desk, by the way. It's pretty nice. There are times when we're doing certain kinds of work where I have to stand up, but if I don't have to, I feel like this is a lot better. I think on both the framing of the camera and even on the close-up shots, I think they're a lot better than me having to walk up to the camera. As we continue to renovate Studio C, I've got some ideas. You know, I'm not saying they're all good ideas, but you'll see some changes coming up here throughout the summer, and we'll see what sticks. Eric says, if I send 20 pounds, do you get 20 pounds? No, YouTube takes 30% of your contribution and makes me wait 30 to 60 days for me to get it. However, if you send it via PayPal, or if you get an Amazon gift card, but you can't send it to me from amazon.co.uk, you need to go to amazon.com and create a free account. And then you can buy a gift card from amazon.com, and I would get 100% of that gift card with no fees. PayPal is a 3% fee. YouTube is a 30% fee. But regardless, it's not like I'm going to complain. Anything that you contribute is always appreciated, and it does all go towards the channel. So thank you for asking. James Jennings says, my HP has a swollen battery. Is it worth having it changed? It depends how old the HP is and how expensive the battery replacement is. If that HP laptop is not Windows 11 compatible, I wouldn't waste my time. Okay. Just set that right over there. Documentation. Oh, smaller than I was thinking it was going to be. That's not a bad thing. Wow. I guess based on the size of the box, I thought it was going to be a bit larger, but that's not a bad thing. Let's come over here to this camera, see if that works. Now, you see the yellow stickers. These are some kind of warnings here. There are screws in the center of the feet. So if you have to get into this to upgrade the RAM or storage, you can, but they put a tamper sticker on here that tells that you can open it. This doesn't mean anything in the United States. I can't speak for anywhere else in the world, but in the US, if you buy whatever, you have the right to work on it. And the manufacturers do not have a right to void a warranty. Even if they say they do, they don't. The United States Congress has spoken on this issue, and they have said that simply opening the device up, whatever it is that you bought, cannot void a warranty according to US law. Now, if you open it up and you damage it, okay, that's a different story. But just opening it up and changing the RAM and doing everything correctly, these stickers have absolutely no meaning. They're just psychological, right? That if you're the company, you can't blame them, because people constantly cause their own problems, and then they call support, then they want it replaced at the company's expense. So what would you do if you're the company and you have an abundance of this happening? Put these stickers on here. And even though that sticker doesn't say a darn thing, we all know what it's there for. It's to tell if you opened it. But that doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. Sometimes it'll actually say void warranty if sticker removed or altered. But even if they say that, it does not override US law. So they could say whatever they want. The United States law has the ultimate say in it. So don't worry about that. It's a little deceiving. But they do sell this exact same model in many other countries around the world, and perhaps there are other countries where that can void a warranty. Therefore, they just do it to all of them. I haven't spoken to Peladin on the issue because this is my reaction to seeing it for the first time, but this means nothing. You can just take it off. Doesn't matter. At least if you're in the US. Now we have this yellow sticker, which I'm going to have to put my glasses on to read. Let's see what it says. Quick setting button description. Press DEL or delete to enter the BIOS setup. Press F7, enter boot options menu. BIOS settings are risky, and unauthorized alterations may cause the computer to fail to boot. In other words, if you go in there and you're making changes without them specifically instructing you to do so, you may cause this computer to stop working because you messed with it. And they're not telling you they're not going to help you. They're just telling you. Just that, nothing more. It says, please tear off this label before using the product. Okay? Do I have to tear it or can I gently pull it? Don't be so literal, Carey. Okay, now we have another little warning sticker here blocking the Ethernet port. I don't know, can you read that? I can't read that. Hold on, let me get my my super glasses. They're gonna give me super vision. This is my bionic. These are my bionic glasses. That's a $6 Million Man reference for those of you born after the 1980s. Please note, to set up more quickly, avoid using Wi-Fi or LAN initially. The connection may trigger prolonged updates, causing delays in desktop access. Amen. I've been saying this and saying it and saying it, and finally, the manufacturers are warning people about this. Set the computer up first, a brand new machine, or even a brand new build if you're building one yourself, with the bare minimum, meaning keyboard, mouse, monitor, and power, nothing more. Get yourself to the desktop. You go through your whole Windows setup experience, make sure everything works right, sounds right, you know, if something doesn't seem right, before you go any further. If everything looks cool, which it probably will, then after you get to the desktop, then plug it into your internet or Wi-Fi, and then start breaking it in, you know, configuring it the way you like it. So there is our Peladin. Turn it that way. Pretty small and narrow. Okay, so let me just set that down over here. Let's get back to what's in the rest of this box. We have a sort of a false floor, if you will. Magicians like to use a false floor for like pulling a rabbit out of a hat. Oh, well, I guess that's just packing. That's the false floor. We'll open that up. And inside we have our power brick. For some reason in a resealable bag. Just get rid of that. And our power brick is, get my super glasses, 19 volts. I don't know how many watts that is, 3,420 milliamps. This is a universal power adapter, meaning with just an adapter on it, it converts between 100 and 240 volts auto sensing. So if you're in Europe, you plug it in. If you're in the Americas, you plug it in. I mean, North America, and then you don't have to buy anything other than adapters for the prongs. Now, one of the things I'm not a fan of, and I've made this clear over and over again, is I do not care for the power brick going directly into the surge protector. I'd much prefer to have a separate cable here, just like a laptop, and let this be in the middle between the wall and the machine, because I find these cables to be a little challenging in length to get from where I need to go to my desk. However, at this price point, I mean, it's one way you can bring the price down on a system. Okay, so I get it. I see what they're doing. We've got our Visa mount. We've got some kind of quality control paper here that tells me nothing because I can't read Cantonese or Mandarin, whatever that is. And then we have an HDMI cable also in a Ziploc bag for some reason. Sometimes manufacturers use sealed bags and sometimes they use reclosable bags. I don't know why things that you might need to put into a bag are not resealable, and things that are just brand new packaging where you throw the bags out are in a Ziploc. I don't get that, but not a big deal. So with the Visa mount, final thing in the box are the screws. And this enables you to attach to the back of the mini PC with these brass holes here. And with that, you can then attach. How would that go on? I'm so confused. Does it go on like that? No. Does it go on like this? No. Would it go on like that? Nope. But like this. Boy, I'm going to have to read the directions here because the feetsies are in the way. The feet are in the way on this. Oh, I see. I see. It has a little lip on it, goes over the foot. And then the screws in this bag, the brass ones, will go into these brass fittings. And then the little black screws there, that's there for you to attach to a desk or the wall, or, you know, if you want to mount this behind your monitor and hide it. I have never used a VESA mount in my life, but some people like them, and so it's there if you want it. All right, let me just clear this up a little bit. Let's go back to camera 1. Okay. Hopefully I'm done with my bionic glasses, and put those over here. And I should be done with these stickers. Just put that over there. Try and keep all this into a controlled chaos. I don't think we need documentation, and whatever that is, that's fine. So all I care about when I get a new computer is the computer and the power brick, at least on a Mini. I don't care about any other stuff. But you might, so my focus is going to be on the machine, right? That's why I bought it. I didn't buy it for a VESA mount. Maybe you did. I'm not saying it's good or bad. Just telling you, if you're new here, I am going straight to the good stuff. Now again, my concern about these power bricks is just how limited the length of cable is. Now nothing an extension cord can't fix, but it just feel like my preference is to give me another cable, you know, to go from here to the wall. That's another 5-6 feet, and that solves the problem. And it also, although this is pretty narrow, it can block plugs to the left or to the right, or especially a vertical plug. If you put this on the top, you may not have access now to the plug beneath it. For that reason, I'm not a fan of these bricks. I have enough of these. And I understand where it might make sense for certain products, like recharging a shaver that I obviously haven't used today, or other small electronics devices. But for a PC, I don't know. This part so far is the only part that I'm not a fan of, but it's not going to make or break a good deal for me. You know, if the price is right, yeah, I'll leave that up to you to decide. It may not even be a big deal for you. I'm probably making a big deal out of nothing. Let me plug this in right down here. And it's just a standard barrel style power connector, very similar to a laptop. And what else? Keyboard and mouse. So keyboard and my mouse and keyboard. And we'll plug that into the USB 2 ports here in the back, because that's really what they're there for. Those are slower. Keep your USB 3.2s available for flash drives or faster items. Not that you have to, but I'm not going to type any faster on a USB 3.2 port. And then I need HDMI cable, which I have on the floor somewhere. I think I might be sitting on it. Hold on. HDMI, where are you? I see a cable, I just don't see the end of it. Bear with me for 1 second as I figure out where the heck my cable went. Oh, I see. I got it. All right, HDMI. We're going to plug that in to HDMI. First boot. And some people, I'm just going to tell you, some people, they get a product and they have a problem with it, and they will quickly go to leaving a 1-star review, despite the fact that there's no way many PCs leave factories today without automated quality control testing what ends up happening when they're shipping from Asia to the United States, it's a long boat ride. Then it goes through customs, it gets handled some more, and then it gets loaded on a truck and it gets handled some more. It's put into a warehouse and it gets handled some more. And then you order it and it goes on a delivery truck where it gets handled some more. And it's when damage occurs, it's usually in that process. It's not at the factory. The company didn't screw up. Somebody mishandled the product along the line, from the way it got to the factory to your front door. And that's what the warranty is for. I mean, honestly, if you're going to have a problem with a modern mini PC or a modern day product, most of the time that damage has happened after it left the factory. There's only so much the company can do to protect it. So for people to get all wound up about it makes no sense to me, especially if you're ordering from Amazon, where they'll do the exchange. It's no big deal. Really, it's no big deal. You just tell them it's bad, it's not working. It's very rare we run into any electronics that aren't working well, but if you live in an area where your UPS driver likes to drop kick packages like it's a field goal to your front door, you might experience it more than most people, and you might wonder why things are so terrible. It's your delivery company. It's that last mile of service, as they call it. That's oftentimes where the damage is happening. However, not always, just it's not uncommon. If something goes wrong with it, don't try to fix it. If you buy something brand new and it's not working as advertised, do not try to repair it. Do not try to repair it. You could void your warranty, and you could extend the length of time that you have to return it. You could expend it where you don't have any time left now. Immediately, and I mean immediately, without wasting any more time, put it back in the box with everything it came with. Don't steal anything. See, the longer you postpone that, the more likely it is that you're going to end up as a thief, even though you won't be charged as a thief. If you don't return what you bought and you expect a refund or exchange, then give back everything you bought. Don't leave out the package of screws or the Visa mount or the instructions. That is being a thief, whether you realize it or not. Whether or not they charge you, they're going to charge you for it. But out of courtesy, just common courtesy, give back everything you paid for, and you can ask for a refund or an exchange. Now, I would do an exchange. If the exchange also arrived damaged, I'd be done. I wouldn't do it anymore. We haven't even fired this up yet, and more than likely it's going to be fine. And if it's not fine, I will not dilly-dally. If there's something wrong with it, I will not attempt to fix it, and I will not procrastinate returning it. If this has any problem, I will get back on Amazon and I will file the return, and then I will take it to wherever the drop-off point is. It could be a Whole Foods store, it could be a UPS store, whatever. You have your choice of where you return it, and then I will choose whether I want a refund or exchange. That way I get the replacement sooner and I can get back up and running faster. Everything goes smoother if you don't procrastinate. Everything goes smoother if you don't try to fix it yourself. Everything goes smoother if you remember where everything is you took out of the box, so you can return it all without concern that there's going to be something kicked back to you that, you know, hey, there's a 20% fee because you didn't include the Visa amount or something. Now, Amazon's not known for doing that, but legally they could. And if you want to avoid that risk of that happening, just make sure you put it all back in the box. So don't throw anything out until you've tested everything and you're happy with it, or until your 30-day return period has expired, at which point then you're under warranty with the company, in which case the company's not going to ask you to send anything back, or they just, you know, the problem's going to be here. This is all they're interested in that case. Okay, let's turn it on. First boot up. I feel fans, but I don't see an LED. Okay, let's see what it's doing. I have no idea. That's kind of weird. Let's go to camera 2. Is this booting? It says no signal. And okay, power light just now. The power light just now came on. That was kind of weird. And let's go back and see. Okay, there's the Peladin screen. Now, is this Linux? Is it Windows? I mean, that looks like Windows to me. I don't know why it says Linux on the page at Peladin, but that looks like a Windows loading I call that the toilet bowl flushing because that's every time I look at that, that looks like a toilet bowl flushing. I guess unless you're in Australia and then it flushes. All right. Not Linux. All right, this is our Windows 11 out-of-box experience. Everything looks standard, no differently than if I did it myself. There's my mouse working. English, United States. Yes, continue in English. Is that what he's speaking? And I'm in the US, so yes. Keyboard is a US keyboard. No secondary language on my keyboard. Wants to connect. I don't have internet. Good. They've added that bypass NRO in here, unless it's a really old version of Windows 11. Accept the license agreement. Wow, that is the shortest license agreement I've ever seen in my life. All right, whatever. All right, we're going to put the name user, U-S-E-R, enter, enter. I keep the password blank so it just boots right to the desktop. I'm going to leave location settings on because, you know, the factory where this was made is probably at a different time zone, and I'm sure we could be off by a day on our date and time settings, and leaving location on, it'll just connect to the Windows, the network time protocol, once I plug it into the network. So I've not plugged it into the network yet. We're waiting for this to finish our out-of-box experience. We'll know when that's done when we get to the Windows desktop. Once we're at the Windows desktop, we can start looking at what version of Windows we have, look in the device manager, see what Ethernet controller we have, verify the CPU and RAM match what we paid for, and then I can plug it in to the Ethernet cable, get us online, and go check for Windows updates. That is the proper unboxing process. Some people are too anxious. They want to just plug it in and start using it immediately. And that might be okay. You might be fine. But what if you're not? Where do you start your diagnosis? Was it something you did? Or was it shipped to you in that condition? So for the sake of keeping myself sane and being able to get things done in a reasonable amount of time, should the unexpected occur, I have much better control over knowing where to look for the source of the problem. If it's something that I did and then I have a problem immediately afterwards, I know I caused it. That makes it a lot easier to figure out what's wrong. Now this is just booted into 4K mode, and we can see all these shadows of where icons will be. These will autofill once I plug the computer into the network. For right now, let me lower that resolution down to 1920 by 1080 so Zach can see it, because that is way too tiny for these old eyes. 1920 by 1080, keep these changes, very good. Okay, right click, we'll go to System, let's see what we got. We have Windows 11 Pro 24H2, right on. That's what I want to see, and it was installed on tomorrow. Remember that time zone difference between Asia and the United States? Don't worry about this. As soon as I plug it into the network, this will automatically resync. You do not need to set the date and time by hand. It's not going to flash 12 at you like a 1980s VCR. Stop trying to control it. Leave it alone. It'll be fine. We've got an AMD Ryzen 7 7735 CPU with built-in Radeon graphics. 16 gigs of installed RAM. 11.7 gigs is available because it appears 4.3 gigs is being used by our graphics card. You know, when you buy a discrete graphics card, part of what you're paying for, and is you'll tell from the price, is how much RAM the graphics card comes with. You can't buy a graphics card that doesn't have RAM in it. But because these graphics cards that are built into the CPUs are called APUs in AMD's world, they don't have any RAM. They have to borrow from your system RAM. And that's why you'll see that usable versus what the total is. That confuses people. If we close this now and let's go MS info, that'll bring up system information, which is different from system because Microsoft. Secure boot state is on. We want to see that on Windows 11. If it isn't on, it's easy to fix that, but it's nice that it's set from the factory correctly. Right-click on the Start menu, we'll go to Device Manager. We're going to make sure there's no splats, there's no exclamation points, everything looks happy. And under the network adapter, what do we have? It's a Realtek wired and wireless. I like that they're both from the same company. So the Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth are made by Realtek. And the LAN adapter is also made by Realtek. It's a 1 gig wired LAN adapter. Fine. Some people want 2.5 gig. You can go on Amazon and buy a 2.5 gig to USB adapter, plug it in. It's 15 bucks. This is not important to me. So I'm happy that it's Realtek or Intel. Those are the names I want to see. There's other company like MediaTek on the Wi-Fi side, which they're fine as far as the hardware goes. It's the fact that MediaTek does not offer consumers any drivers. And they'll tell you if you need drivers for your MediaTek Wi-Fi, you must get those drivers from the manufacturer you bought the MediaTek from. They don't sell the MediaTek devices separately. All right, so with that, at least not officially, let me grab my network cable here, which is also on the floor. There it is. Now, if you watch the bottom right corner where this globe is, when I plug in to my internet or to my network, you'll see that start to blink as it obtains an IP address from my router. And once it's ready, that blinking will stop, and instead of a globe, I get a little computer monitor. So let's go now. You'll see all of this is filled in. Some people call this bloatware. This is not bloatware. It's weird I see Word on here. What is this? This must be a trial? Yeah, so I don't know why they've installed this. This kind of bugs me. So you're going to get a trial of Microsoft Office. Okay. You don't normally see that. How many times? This will be limited how often we can use it until we have to pay for it. Let me bring it up again and see if it warns us. Sign in to get started. Sign in or create an account. Use a product key. Skip. You're currently in read and print only mode. Once you buy it, then you can create and edit. Wow. Yeah, Microsoft gets really restricted on this. I don't know why that came pre-installed, but it's no big deal to uninstall it. I wouldn't call this bloatware. Things like LinkedIn, it's just a little shortcut. It takes 2 seconds to take it out. If you want to time it, there's Xbox. I don't use that. We'll remove that. 1, 2, up, almost 2 seconds. Office 365, uninstall. Ready? 1, 2, up. Couldn't even get to 2. Outlook, right-click, uninstall. It's just a shortcut. 1, 2. It's less than 2 seconds. So I don't know why everybody's whining and crying about bloatware on the internet. That's not bloat. If it was bloat, we'd be sitting here for 20 minutes waiting for it to uninstall. For anything else, we want to go in the control panel. We can look under apps and just see if there's anything in there we don't want. A lot of this just comes with Microsoft Windows. If you did a clean install, you'd be getting all this same quote-unquote bloatware. But this is not bloatware. These are shortcuts. Now, on the other hand, all of these 365s, these trials, I'm not too happy that that came pre-installed, because now look at how many we've got to uninstall. I'm not even sure how I'm supposed to read that. There's not like one master uninstaller. I've got to go through every single one of these. And this is not a 2-second uninstall. That is what I consider to be bloat. That is, I'll talk to Peladin about this. I don't like this at all, and a clean Windows install would not do this. So Peladin has modified their installer with this trial and in all these different languages. I mean, at the very least, leave one on there, but don't give it to me in every language possible. That's taking up a lot of drive space. You know, look how crowded the apps look with all of that pre-installed. Now, Peladin's not the only one I've seen do this. But it does disappoint me when I see a manufacturer resort to this tactic, because most users won't know to go in here and take any of this out. And look how long it takes just to get one out of there. And we've got to do that over and over and over again. Now, it doesn't take forever, but it's definitely not a simple 2-second uninstall. And we're going to keep repeating that. And if it comes up in a language you don't know, just hit the blue button. Even if you can't understand what it says, just hit the blue button. If you think I can understand these languages, I've got you fooled. I'm looking for the color of the blue button, at least on Microsoft Office, to uninstall it. Now, Arabic is written the opposite way. They read from the right to the left. In English, we read from the left to the right. And you'll notice even the bar moves the other way on the Arabic version. Hebrew is the same way. Of course, they'd say we're the ones who have it backwards. So, all right, so we're removing the, I guess, German version here. Wow. Did not expect to see that coming. But it also said it had Linux on it. So we'll also bring that to Peladin's attention. I think it's an oversight. I don't think there's anything intentional there. And then while we're doing this, let me bring up camera 1. But Mara thinks I should run Malwarebytes on it. Okay, we can totally run Malwarebytes on this. But first, I want to get all this stuff out. So bear with me, one thing at a time here. And let me start the next uninstaller. Close that. Go to the next. I'm going to take every one of these out. Because honestly, if I want Microsoft Office, I'm going to go to SCD keys and get one of our discounted keys. And I'm going to get it in my language, for my region. And I'm not going to pay the prices that Microsoft wants. And it's all legal. It's all on the up and up. So I don't have to worry about any sort of consequences down the road. Let me jump back over to our chat room here. Oh, good. My chat room is crashed because YouTube's live chat memory leak is alive and well. All right, let's see what you guys have to say here. David Martinez joins it, says hello. There's David Collins saying hello. David Collins says camera 1 has a noticeably lower frame rate. Everything is at 30 frames per second. We don't shoot at 60 and we can't go any lower. But, well, yeah, we could be at 24. I guess I need to check it before I say that. I'll set some time aside at some point. And the camera 1 and camera 2, they should be exactly the same, and frame rate, resolution, and color warmth. But maybe I changed something and I forgot. So yeah, I'll have to verify that. As far as I know, they were both set up the same. I personally set them both up exactly the same. But sometimes I change things and forget to change it back. So we'll see. Osred said, I've seen people give 1-star reviews on Amazon because they didn't like the speed on delivery. Amazon won't allow that, by the way. If you leave a review that complains about the seller, they'll say, look, your review's not approved. There's a review area for the seller that's different from the product review. Amazon has corrected me numerous times where I've ordered something that took a really long time. And I'm like, hey, product is great, but the shipping took 3 weeks. And Amazon said, no, you can't do that. Your review was not approved. If you want to review the seller, click on Review Seller. If you want to review the product, click on Review the Product. And Amazon is really strict on that. So if you've seen any like that, I don't know how they got through slipped through the cracks. Oh, geez, that's not what I wanted. Close up camera. No, camera 2, full screen. There we go. All right, let's go to the next one here. Hey, the English version. This is just okay. Install. We'll do that. And back over to the chat while we wait. Eric Turner said he sent an Amazon gift card. Oh, did you, Eric? Let me check my phone. There it is. Eric Turner sends an Amazon gift card for $25. He says, bollocks to the 30% super chat fee and have a good week. Thank you, Eric. He must be from the UK. That's awesome. We appreciate your support. And we'll be using that Amazon gift card, rest assured, for items here on the channel. All right, let me go back to full screen because that one uninstalled. Let's do the Spanish one now. And then French, and then Japanese, and then Russian, and then what is that? Chinese? No idea, but it's coming off. That's all I can tell you. Jim says in the chat room, we've never had an Amazon purchase returned. Oh, I've returned quite a few. Sometimes the product isn't as described, but I order a lot. A lot. I love Amazon. If I don't have to get in the car and go somewhere and deal with people, parking, traffic, yeah. I would just click the mouse and show it to my door. Yes, please. I don't do delivery like with food. Like, to me, that's a rich people thing. But for Amazon, I can often get the products cheaper and have it delivered to my door versus going to a store, looking for it, seeing if they have it in stock or if they carry it at all. If I don't find it, do I bother trying to find somebody to look it up for me? How long do I want to be there? Especially like for shoes and things like that, where I'm looking for a certain size and a specific model in a specific color. Oh, what a nightmare that used to be for me. Now I can go to Zappos, which is owned by Amazon, and pretty much get any shoe in any size and any color I want delivered to my door with 365 days to return it for free if I don't like it. Zappos is a heck of a place to buy shoes, let me tell you. World changing for me. I don't order any groceries from Amazon. Maybe some snacks, but nothing refrigerated. I don't have any groceries delivered. I don't have any anything that's refrigerated or requires refrigeration. I might do that from time to time in the winter, but never in the summer because the delivery trucks are not air conditioned. And whatever that is, however long it takes to get to me, like if it's cheese or if it's chocolate, it'll be melted and ruined, even if they pack it with ice. So it would have to be like FedExed overnight or something. There's a frozen pizza company out of New York called Table 87 that gets a lot of really good reviews here on YouTube, and they will ship in dry ice and they'll FedEx it, and it's very expensive. And you know what? I want to try it, but I don't want to spend $20 for a $10 pizza. On the other hand, it's still cheaper than going to New York from Phoenix. But anyway, let me go back over here to full screen here on camera 2. Let's close that. We'll move to the French version. Install. Uninstall. Yes. Uninstall. So that's why you want to check all this right out of the gate before you start customizing this little box. And by the way, that fan is noticeable. It's not loud, but it's not quiet. A lot of hot air coming out the back, but that's the way it's supposed to work. CPU's up on top here, and that hot air is going to blow out the back. So if I were you, I'd make sure that you have at least a foot between the back of the unit and any sort of wall or enclosure so that this has room to breathe, because you don't want it trapping that hot air in a small space and then sucking the hot air back in again. It's only going to make it hotter. It's a small PC, it doesn't need a lot of space. But if you enclose it like that, then that fan has to work hotter to generate more heat, which in turn gets sucked in, which is hot air, hotter than the ambient room air, which is going to generate more heat, which means the fan has to run louder. At some point, your fan's going to be at 100%, and your machine's just going to keep getting hotter and hotter, and there's nothing wrong with the machine. It was poor placement on the user's part. It's like, I bought this frog, and I put it in a box without any holes in it, and now the frog is dead. You sold me a bad frog. No, you should have had holes so the frog could breathe. That's your problem. So when you're placing a device like any kind of a computer, even a laptop, you don't want it sitting on your lap. Oftentimes the vents are there on the bottom to bring cool air in, and you're suffocating it. So don't suffocate these. It doesn't require, you know, if you can give it a foot of space all the way around and even on top. Don't stack things on top, because you'll end up, if you have something big on top of there, you can end up blocking the airflow and trapping it, even though there's no air vents on top. And this is not unique to this model. This is just mini PCs in general, okay? But this fan is a bit noticeable, but I expect, you know, something this thin doesn't have a giant heatsink on it. As such, the fan's going to have to work harder. And that's, again, true of any mini PC. That's just thermodynamics. It's not, I don't think it's annoying, but I definitely know it's on. In fact, it's settling down right now. So whatever work it was doing, it's done doing that work. And now that fan is barely noticeable now. It is ramped down. That's the way it's supposed to work, by the way. Should get louder as needed and then quieter. Just like your car might get really loud when you put your gas pedal all the way down to the floor, but when you're idling in the driveway, it should be nearly silent if it's a modern car. All right, let's go back and do the next one. Okay, Japanese versions next. All right, you see those instructions? You got that? They do this because they sell worldwide. It's the same box, right? And they just include a different power, but the prongs on the end are different. And they can ship it in many different countries. And I suppose the thought was we can have Microsoft Office 365 pre-installed for everybody. The downside is wherever you are, you only want one of those, and all the other 6 or 7 are useless to you. So I'm not quite sure I can get behind the logic of this, but it's no big deal to take it out. But it's a bigger deal to take it out than taking out everything else, because Windows 11 does not install that by default. So if you wanted to just reinstall Windows 11 from scratch instead of dealing with this, you could do that. You just have to get the drivers for it. Let me go full screen on here again. And what do we have now? Russian. One of the reasons the fan may also be getting louder is, whether you realize it or not, this is downloading updates in the background. The minute we plugged it into the internet, Windows will start updating whether you like it or not. So if we go to setting, well, we're already in settings. If we go to Windows Update, you'll probably see, yeah, see here, it's downloading and installing in the background, even though we did not tell it to do that. And I don't know if you noticed, but in the bottom right corner, our date and time automatically set itself. Remember, if it's not flashing 12, you don't need to set it. It sets automatically. Some of us learned in the 80s and 90s, and that we carry that education forward. We don't need to anymore. Let the equipment take care of itself. Don't get in your own way. Because this is where humans make mistakes and the technology is far more reliable in getting it right. Humans fat finger the date and whatnot, and set the date to 2046, and they don't realize they did that, and then they start getting all these weird errors that they created, when if they'd have just left it alone, they never would have had that problem. Now, that should finally be our last one, but there's a few little things in here that are standard that come with Windows 11 that I'll also remove, like media player. I like to replace that with VLC. Just my personal preference, okay? Everything I'm showing you here, and I want to be very clear on this, is my personal preference. I'm not deciding your preferences, and I'm not telling you what to do. I'm sharing with you what I do. And if you like that and you want to adopt it, you're welcome to. If you don't like that and you don't want to adopt it, you're welcome to that as well. All right, let me get over here to the chat here because I have missed some things. Thomas Yeager, now a member for 4 months. Right on. Thanks for renewing membership. Thomas says, happy Sunday, everyone. Back at you, Thomas. Rick Ash wants to know if C3PO understands thousands of languages. Are you suggesting I'm C3PO? That may be the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me. The odds of being C3PO are 760,000 to 1. Never tell me the odds, kid. Oh, I guess he doesn't call C3PO. Oh, okay, this is why you get a script. All right, does this uninstall? It does. Let's get that up. What else can we uninstall? Microsoft News. Oh, so along with Office 365, we also get Microsoft OneNote. Okay, so here is where a bulk uninstaller or debloater would come in handy. This would be a circumstance where I would say, geez, oh look, it's going backwards. I often complain that these utilities for debloating aren't necessary anymore, and the maintenance and download and running of those utilities often takes as long or longer than just uninstalling the stupid things, the shortcuts. But in this case, this would be an exception to that. In this case, I almost feel like it'd be faster for me to just reinstall Windows than to go through all this, except most end users that buy equipment like this wouldn't know how to do that, nor would they have any desire. That would be an intimidating, anxiety-filled, well, what if I break it? I don't know how to do it. So I'll just show you how to uninstall this crap. You could leave it installed too. It's just that this is taking up a lot of room on the storage drive. You can tell how much room or bloat something is consuming by how long it takes to uninstall. So we've got to go through OneNote for each and every different language, each and everything. Fun. Lou Greeny has said he talked his place of work into purchasing the Ace Magician K1 mini PCs that have an AMD Ryzen 7 5700U mini PC. It's 16 gigs of RAM with 512 storage to use at work for basic email scanning and documents. Yeah, I think they'll be happy with them. Well, I mean, you would know, right? You have a different model than the K1, but you know the quality of the Ace Magic. I had somebody in the comments section thought they were being smart, and they saw a review that I did of Ace Magic, and they said, "Are they still putting malware and spyware on their computers?" And I was like, "I don't know. Are you still pooping in your diapers like you used to, or have you grown since then?" Then I deleted it because okay, that's even a bit biting for a Gen Xer like me. Yes, Ace Magic pooped their pants, okay? Once. They fixed it. You have to keep reminding them? How would you like it if somebody did that to you? You were pooping in diapers too. Are you still doing that now? Or do you find that question offensive? Not just me, right? Now we're going to run Malwarebytes on this and we'll check it, but Peladin is never, in fact, the only mini PC manufacturer that we're aware of that had that issue momentarily was Ace Magic, and they've corrected it, so there's no concern anymore. But we will double check it. We don't want to assume anything. And when we're done here, and we'll let those Windows updates install, we'll grab Malwarebytes and we'll do a scan, just to be sure. Charlie Purdy with a $20 super chat says, hello, Carey and Mara. I'm late for the party. Hey, now the party can get started. Charlie's here. Party on, Charlie. Jim says this is a nightmare of endless uninstalls. I disagree, Jim. You know, it really isn't taking that long, and I feel like you're being intolerant. I mean, listen, it's a computer. If it's not one thing, it's something. If you want complete control, then don't let anybody do anything for you. You must, if you have that kind of personality, then the only way things are going to be done the way you like is if you do it yourself. When you buy a pre-built, you've got to be willing and open-minded to realize it's not built specifically for you. It was not customized at the factory like a Ferrari or a Rolls-Royce that you paid all this money for, that you can dictate these terms. You can build it yourself. This is not a big deal. In fact, you only have to do this once, and we're waiting for updates to install regardless. This is not impacting our ability to do those Windows updates that are happening in the background. If you look over here, they're probably still going. They are. So what would we be doing anyway? Just sitting here waiting. So this gives us something to do while we're waiting. It's not like it's doubling up the work. We're still just sitting here, so we can multitask. What's the big deal? So there's like 8 of these times 2, total of 16, plus the regular things like, let's say, Microsoft Teams I don't want. Those take seconds to uninstall. It's not a big deal. But again, buying a pre-built is not necessarily a good idea if you're a controlling kind of person. You're much better off building your own computer. And that's not an insult. It's just regular consulting advice to meet the individual needs of the customer. No big deal. It's a one-time thing. Now, if I had 15 or 20 of these to do, then what I would do is I would set one the way I want it, and I would clone it with Acronis, and I'd simply restore the clone to the others. It would take a few minutes. On the other hand, if I'm spending that kind of money, I could probably call and have the company customize them for me. So those who are spending more can be more demanding and can expect that customization, just as Rolls-Royce customers can determine every part of their car they want done for them. They don't do it themselves. So, yeah, I don't think this is a big deal at all. I'm not happy about it. I don't feel like a customer should have to do this. However, it's not that big of a deal. And we'll let Peladin know, obviously. It's their company and they can make their own decisions, but I'm sure they appreciate the feedback. Mark Gaines, let's see. He says a fresh install is bloated. No, it isn't. It's not. You guys don't know what bloat is. I'm sorry. Bloat would be like McAfee, Norton, all that other stuff, which, you know, very few manufacturers even do that anymore. That's kind of, that ship has sailed. It's just PTSD. But basically, the only bloat that I see is, and even then it's not that bad. Oops, I just clicked on something here. I would say, you know, everything here we want. These little things like Microsoft Teams, I've already demonstrated. It's 8K. 8K is not bloat. Do you know how many of these you could put on a floppy disk, for crying out loud? You want to talk about bloat? Your video card driver is probably bloat. Why don't you take that off? But this Microsoft OneDrive, you know, a lot of people use this and they like it. I don't. I would say that is probably the only bloat on a Windows 11 computer, and that's only because I don't use it. If you use it, you would disagree that one person's bloat is another person's, you know, necessary tool. So just because you consider something bloat does not define that as bloat for anybody other than you, unless we're universally talking about a large install of something most people won't use. So when you have multiple languages of the same application installed, most people are only going to use one of those and not the other 7. Therefore, it is defined as bloat. Look at how PC Manager is also installed. Okay, I'm not liking this at all. I mean, look, I put PC Manager on. It's not supposed to come with Windows. And I'm on the fence about it because I will add this. So the fact I don't have to is good. But on the other hand, if all of this stuff, like all of these Microsoft OneNote and Office installations, are not a part of a, like mobile plans, that's a part of a standard Windows install. That's no big deal. Remote desktop connection, I think, is dangerous to have installed. And it's always installed by default, even on a clean install of Windows Pro. So I would take that out, but it requires a reboot when I remove it. So I don't want to do that yet. There's that one Microsoft OneNote remaining. We'll take that out. Remember, we're still downloading updates anyway, so nothing's taking any longer. It's not a big deal. Or we could just do a reinstall of Windows 11 from scratch. But if you feel like, hey, I bought this to already have Windows installed so I don't have to do that, then this isn't the right machine for you. Again, I'm not recommending it. I'm just introducing it to you. You might have very high standards and a very tiny budget. I mean, good luck with that. You're going to get more customization the more you pay. And I'm not excusing this. But what I am saying is this isn't terrible. It's just there's a lot of things here, such as PC Manager and other add-on items that they might have put on for reasons of convenience that they're not part of a standard Windows 11 install. And the way the paranoid internet is today, they likely think there could be malware or spyware on here. I mean, if they change that, what else did they change? That's the logic of the public today with the culture of total paranoia that we live in. So I'm sitting here scratching my head going, you know, an acorn hits your head and you think the sky is falling. But it absolutely would justify a scan with Malwarebytes. And Malwarebytes is free to download. And in the trial, it's all we need to do this. We'll go over here to appease those, even though we have no baseline for which to be worried. In other words, Peladin has never, ever installed a virus or malware or spyware on their computers. But now suddenly they have? I don't think so. What are the odds? So we're taking, here's what it's like. It's like you're taking an innocent person and you're saying, you're a criminal. You could be a criminal. It's offensive to me. What evidence do you have? Have I been a criminal before? No. What makes you think I'm a criminal now? Because I'm suspicious of you. Why? Because you're dressed funny, you look funny, you don't fit in, you're weird, you're not like me. You're not what I expect you to be. Well, you're not what I expect you to be. So are you the criminal? So just think about the kind of vibe you're putting out there, because that's what you're going to attract back to you in life. Take that or leave it. I'm going to run this, and I will be thoroughly embarrassed if it finds anything. That's how confident I am it's clean. So here we go. We're live and unscripted. I can't cover up anything here. This is exactly as it's happening right now. Okay, let me get rid of camera 1 here so you can see the entire screen. Up here, it's downloaded our file. And let me go full screen. And we're just going to do a regular basic install for personal use. And while that installs, I'll close all this out. That way there's not so much clutter on the screen. Now, one of the problems I have with other content creators on YouTube scanning for malware is they'll use Malwarebytes and they'll do the quick scan. So, okay, so the quick scan shows you anything that's potentially running in RAM. But it's not scanning for any viruses or malware on the drive. That'll take about 2 hours. And you can tell when a content creator says, hey, I scanned this and it came up clean, and they show the scan results freeze frame that and look how long it says, you know, the scan took 2 minutes and 30 seconds. That's just a quick scan, which is almost pointless. But let's do this. Let's hit skip, maybe later, continue with free trial. So here's what most content creators do. These are the non-technical. They think they're technical, but if they were truly technical, they'd realize the type of scan they're doing is kind of pointless. And that is, they just hit the scan button. And this whole scan will be done, the scan time down here, in under 4 minutes. Now, one might argue that, well, if it's not found in here, it's not running. But that doesn't mean it's not on the drive. You know, potentially waiting to strike if you click on it or something activates it. So we're going to do the quick scan, and of course, it's going to come up with 0 detections. I mean, that's pretty commonplace. Anybody who doesn't do a full scan is wasting your time. At least, you know, if they're claiming they're reviewing a product. So usually what they'll do is they'll screenshot this screen here, and you'll see the scan time. This says 37 seconds. That's not a very thorough scan. So if they were more technically minded, they would go over here and they'd choose advanced scan, and they'd do a custom scan, and they'd scan for rootkits, and they would scan the C drive. And now it's going to scan every single file on the C drive, including looking for rootkits. And this is going to take a while. I'd say at least an hour. The number of items scanned will be in the hundreds of thousands. And out of curiosity, if we go to the Windows Explorer, how much drive space do we have after we've uninstalled all that stuff? Because on 512, you know, storage, you're not getting a lot. It looks like we're using 56 gigs. Now, on a clean Windows install, we should be closer to 40. That means there's still 16 gigs of other stuff on here. And again, you don't have to do all this. You could leave all that other stuff installed. It's not hurting anything. It's just taking up space. One could say the same about me. The reason I'm so sort of fast and loose with this is not a big deal. Everything you're seeing is a result of just people being intolerant, people being demanding, and then people also not wanting to pay a lot of money. So they want the cheapest thing. They want it exactly the way they want it. And if you're wondering why computer repair, laptop repair, cell phone repair, if you're wondering why it's going away, the truth is it's not going away because things are unrepairable. It's going away because customers are getting so demanding. They want to pay nothing. They want it done yesterday. And repair centers have had enough. They're not making enough money. So it's not worth tolerating that kind of abuse and pressure. You're much better off going to work for a soulless, faceless corporation where you get health care and raises and reviews. And at least then you're getting much better treatment, even if that treatment's terrible by comparison, than dealing with the public. The public is extraordinarily abuseful and demanding. And until the public stops, these services to the public will start to go away. And when the public says it's because of the manufacturers, it isn't. It's because the public has brought this upon themselves and needs to accept responsibility for the consequences of their actions. Now, when I say the public, I'm not saying everybody, but enough so that repair shops are going away. It's so prevalent. And you can talk about right to repair all day long. Customers want it fast, they want it cheap, and they want it now. You know, they want it yesterday. And if so much as a hair is out of place, they are not shy about coming back to complain or leaving a Yelp review to try and put you out of business. That's your thank you. For that matter, you just tell a customer, go buy a new one. When they go buy a new one and they want support, you're probably going to be on hold, right? Because it's not a tutoring session, and customers abuse support for, you know, teach me how to do this. Teach you how to do that is not a defect in workmanship or material. Just because you bought that piano or you bought that stick shift manual transmission doesn't mean you get free lessons on how to drive the car or play the piano. So that's a separate thing you pay for if you need it. Customers don't get it. And As a result, those services are no longer being offered to customers. And, you know, that's the future we've got to look forward to until that attitude changes. But I'm here to tell you straight, I'm in the repair business, and I've seen it change. And I've seen customers go from grateful to just snide and intolerant. And I don't have to tolerate that. They're going to get what they give. If they're going to give me intolerance and they're going to be cheap, then I'm going to be cheap and give them intolerance right back. And they don't want to do business with me, and I don't want to do business with them. And then when there's a lot more of them, and that becomes like a disease that they get spread around, then I don't even want to interact with, try and find the good people in the mess of all the bad ones. I'd rather just close the doors and do something else. And you're going to hear that over and over and over from anybody that's worked in a repair shop dealing with the public. Public don't care. Did you cry a tear when Circuit City closed their doors? Probably not. You could care less. Okay. They feel the same about you. You get what you give. Let me look here in the chat and see what you guys are saying here. John Downey said, I thought computer repair was going away because computers are more reliable and have become obsolete before they break. Certainly computers are more reliable and they're lasting longer before they become obsolete. But everything still breaks, you know what I mean? Like there's always, look, Dell last year sold, between Dell and HP, over 300 million computers last year alone. 300 million. If half of 1% of 300 million have broken, that's a really good reliability rate. But that also means that somewhere around 1.5 to 2 million computers need repair just that 1 year from that 300 million sold. That's enough to keep any repair shop busy. Now, we're talking worldwide, but nonetheless, that's a lot. Because computers are cheaper, there's more of them now. And the ones that are older are still getting older and are more prone to breaking. There's lots of work to be done. People don't want to do the work because they're tired of the abuse. So it's not a single, I'm not suggesting that there's one reason repair shops have gone out of business. There's multiple reasons. But in my opinion and in my personal experience, customer attitude is number one. That comes first. Repairability or cost to replace, that's further down. It's still an issue, but not enough so that a computer repair shop would go out. It's got to be combination, like a perfect storm.
Check your email.
Oh, Mara wants me to check email. Very good. Check an email. Hey, would you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Could you get me a cold Gatorade? This one's become lukewarm. Oh, Charlie Purdy. Charlie sends an Amazon gift card, and again, a generous one at that. He said, this is for the channel and community, maybe some steak sauce. He remembers that story from Mara. Thanks for all the entertainment. Thank you, Charlie. You need more steak sauce? All right, we'll get you some more steak sauce. Thank you. That's what I need.
Everybody.
They couldn't even see you. Try that again. Here, hold on. Let me. There she is. Hey, you look tall now that I'm sitting.
Shoes up. I'm smart this time.
Those aren't shoes. Those
They're
are
shoes.
stilts.
Hey, you know,
She's got
us short
stilts.
people have to make up for it, right?
Who said that?
Exactly. Exactly my point.
Here, will you put that back in the refrigerator?
I will.
Thank you.
Everybody.
That's the Mara cameo. All right, let's move that aside. Hey, it finished. That didn't take so long. That's a good sign. Let's see, what were our results? So remember, when anytime you're watching a YouTube content reviewer or a YouTube content creator that's reviewing, If they share the screen with you on a product review of a mini PC, freeze frame it and read what the scan time was and how many items were scanned. This is critical information. We scanned a lot more files, almost 500,000. It took 8 minutes, which wasn't bad at all. I've seen this take hours. So you see everything's zeroed. Everything is clean. Nothing wrong with this Windows install. They just added a bunch of stuff that, well, makes us suspicious. I also like to turn that little cartoon off down here. So I do search permissions and history, and I scroll all the way to the bottom under more settings, turn that off. Drives me crazy. And then here, Windows Update, how's that progressing? It's ready to install everything. All right, so apparently it was just downloading in the background while we were doing everything else. Now we can install, and while we're installing, I will turn this feature on. Again, these are my preferences under advanced options. I turn on the first box, the second box, and the fourth box. You can also look under optional updates. I see 2 in there, and we'll grab those. Why not? Whenever you buy a new computer, you should not expect it to be a toaster. Take it out of the box, put toast in it. It's an ever-evolving thing, the operating system and the internet and the bad guys that are trying to get you. They are trying to find more and more clever ways to separate you from your money. And if you don't keep up with your defenses, it's just a matter of time before you're a victim. So as much of a pain in the butt as these updates are, they are free. It costs Microsoft hundreds of millions of dollars in development cost, and the employees that they have to hire to do the work, the web developers to update the Windows Update servers, the bandwidth they have to pay for you to download it, just to have the end user complain about it. It is an insane world. This is your medicine. I don't want to take my medicine. You're going to get sick. Without the medicine, you could get sick. I don't care. The medicine makes everything terrible. The medicine's free. We've gone through the trouble of making the medicine, testing the medicine, distributing the medicine. I don't want it. You can't make me have it. You're right. You're right. Why are you here? There's nothing for you here. We're here to help. If you don't need the help, I don't know why you're here. I don't get it. So for people that are like that, they need to be using maybe something like Linux or Apple or a phone, Android, iOS. It doesn't have all the exploits that Windows has. Windows also is in use by the most amount of people in the world compared to any other operating system. So for an attacker to have a big target, potentially a big target audience, whoever the big target is, that's who they're going after. They're lazy, right? That's the whole point of these bad guys. They don't want to work. Sometimes they work a lot harder than people with real jobs. Sometimes they're even a lot smarter than people with real jobs. But they waste their talent. Most of them don't have any talent. Most of them are complete morons. And they're going after, it's a numbers game. If I just throw darts in the dark, if the dartboard is big enough, you're going to hit it. And if the dartboard's real tiny, you probably aren't going to hit it, right? Well, Windows is the world's biggest dartboard. It's not necessarily any less secure than Linux or Mac or iOS or Android. It's just in use by more people, and those people overall have no technical education and don't care to. So they end up making really bad decisions that the people exploiting them take advantage of. And usually after they've been taken advantage of, after they've lost their identity, their bank account, their credit cards, then they start to care. Well, those people with that attitude would be better off with something other than Windows. So if you're one of those people complaining about Windows updates, you're one of those people that shouldn't be using Windows. It's never designed for you. It can't accommodate your conveniences. It's there to accommodate the world, not you. If you want something to accommodate you, there's products for that. Let's be reasonable here. It's like demanding filet mignon at McDonald's. They're not doing it. Not going to happen. Can I get the McFilet? Is that the McSteak? The big steak. All right. I can't really see what's going on here. Let me move camera 1 out of the way so I can see my progress. Yeah, so when you get a new computer or you build one, let's say you followed one of my build videos, you're going to be doing all the installs and all the drivers. That's all a part of it. If you can't be bothered, if you find that annoying, don't build one yourself. It's not for you. They're not customizing the build process for you. So it's just weird. It's weird to see so many people complain about something that was never made for them. And then they think that's a bad thing when I think it's a good thing. Because why would you think that was ever made for you? What gave you that entitlement? Who are you? Anyway, just how I was raised. I don't know what to tell you. I just see it a lot. Not from, you guys are fine. I'm just saying, I see this more and more online, and I just wonder, who are these people that can be so demanding? They must be wealthy. They must be well respected in their industries to demand such high, intolerant expectations of others, whether it's people or companies. They must be somebody with authority. Who are they? They're nobody and they have no authority. Oh, so it's all just an act. I see. Yeah. Changing the channel. Tell us how you really feel, Carey. Anyway, so far, the Peladin, the hardware on it seems fine, right? It's well built. It's attractive. I like the color. I like that there's screws underneath the feet or in the center of the rubber feet. All that's great. The pre-configuration of the software install, yeah, I'm not real happy with that. But overall, that's a very minor thing. Andy says, I'll have a steak too if you're offering. Come on over. Andy will fire up the grill. Paul Connolly says, good morning from Monday morning here down under. Oh, Paul joins us from Australia. Welcome in, Paul. I see that name Connolly and I think Irish, but he is in Australia. Got to get that in my head. James Jennings says, what's the name of the mini PC you're showing today? Well, James, this is YouTube. And YouTube, you can scroll backwards, you can scroll forwards, you can look at show notes. All that power is in your hands. And we have links to everything. You can rewind the video back to see what you've missed. And it's, to answer the question, it's a Peladin W7. But all the specs, everything we talked about in the beginning that I guess you missed, you can rewind right now. You don't have to wait. You can DVR that bad boy right back to where we started and catch up with us. So please do. And also be sure to check out the show notes for the links if you want more details. But we do appreciate your questions and your interactions here, even if it is me explaining how to use YouTube. Remember, this isn't TV. So hopefully we can all take advantage of all the features YouTube offers. And that includes seeing what you missed, interacting, show notes with all the details, all of that, which you do not get in a TV show. Mental says, I don't do computer repair anymore because people want everything for free. Yeah, not only that, they want it exactly perfect, and they want it yesterday, and they want it for free. So it's not just like one thing. David Graham, and It's a Perfect Door said they cried when Circuit City closed their doors. I doubt that. I really doubt it. But if so, they're very sensitive people. Guarantee nobody at Circuit City was crying for you or never would. So it was definitely a one-way relationship if that's the case. Jim Southern says, do I see Copilot installed? It does appear that there is Copilot on, I think, the Office 365. I'm not sure. This is not. I don't think the CPU has an NPU, does it? Because you do need an NPU to use Copilot, don't you? And there's not a Copilot dedicated button here. And I would expect any Copilot enabled computer to be a little bit more money because it's got to have more power. So I'm not sure on that. We'll have to look into that. We have to wait for these updates to install and we can reboot and go from there. But this is a prime example of how long a new computer should take. This is normal to set it up and get it ready. And until all this is done, you should not install your email, your printers, nothing. Get the whole foundation updated and secured. Make sure it all works. If there's any issues, you can choose to return the product if you bought it from Amazon, or email the manufacturer for any support. Again, as a new product, you should not need to repair it. I've done nothing to repair this. I have configured it, reconfigured it to my preferences. That's not a repair. That's just me saying I don't like something. It'd be like going to a restaurant and the meal comes with, green beans, and I don't eat green beans. But just take it off the plate. I'm not eating it. That doesn't mean that the chef screwed up or the green beans are not good. It's my personal preference. That's not a repair. Preferences aren't repairs. Just so we're clear. Thomas MacT saying hello from St. Petersburg, Florida. Yeah, David Graham uses OneDrive, right? We just took out OneDrive because I consider that to be the only real bloat on Windows 11. But one could debate whether or not that's actual bloat. Just as anybody that likes Norton or McAfee, and a lot of people do, don't consider that bloat because they like it and they rely on it. Phil Stott said, with many PCs, the current trend, maybe you need to update your Windows optimizer to affect it. Well, Phil, I mean, apart from the size of the mini PC, what about the Windows optimizer changes? It's the same Windows. It's like saying SUVs and pickup trucks are the common trend in vehicle purchases. So maybe I should adjust the tires. The same size of tire on a sedan is the same tire. Like it doesn't matter if you put it on an SUV or a truck, right? It's still a tire. That's not changing. Or the fuel, maybe, is a better example. You're putting the same gas in the car as you put in the truck. It's the same petrol, the same fuel. The optimizer is configuring and optimizing Windows 11. It's not configuring and optimizing specific motherboards, RAM, if it's DDR4, DDR5, Wi-Fi. It doesn't have any impact. So what did you have in mind when you said that? Because I'm confused. What changed? Nothing but the package changes, so nothing inside is any different. I know you said that a while back. I'm still catching up. Frank Jimmy, be quiet and eat your green beans. They're good for you. Get your Windows updates. They're good for you. That's what I'm saying. Phil Stott says 20 years ago, there were numerous local PC outlets that have been forced out by online shopping. Well, that's true of just about any kind of shopping. Yeah. John Lewis says, hello, just noticed the video, so I'm late here. I'll watch from the beginning later. Oh, cool. Well, thanks for joining us, John. Paul Connolly says, Carey, you're not wrong about the Irish heritage and the surname Connolly. Well, and I'm not Austrian, but I'm Austrian. I mean, the name Holzman Goes back to the heritage. I get you. I have to remember where people are from. So that's my challenge. So I can say hello to Paul Connolly from Australia when instinctively I want to say Ireland. It doesn't help that your name is in green, but I appreciate that it is. Oh, you know, I noticed this hasn't gone to sleep on us. I never did check the power settings, did I? Let me check that now. Go over here to edit power. Edit the power plan, and oh, I got lucky. I guess I've been keeping it busy. We'll go 3 hours on there, put the computer to sleep, never. Very good. And yeah, this 5055627, this is a beast. This can take a while. This is almost like 25H2. It's so big. But let's let it do what it needs to do here. Anyway, Phil, yeah, if there's something different that I would be optimizing on a mini PC, let me know what you think that is, because I'm confused by the request, but maybe you're thinking of something I'm not considering. Hey, is that Buster that popped in there? I see somebody saying hello to Peter, but I don't see him in there. Have I missed him? Well, I know he watches, so whether he's watching now or not, we'll shout out to our friend Peter Laycock, or Buster as we call him, watches us from Scotland. John Gallagher says, I have a custom-built i9 13900K, got 128 gigs of RAM with a 4060 Ti graphics card. And yes, I know my system is way overkill. Well, that's okay. You are welcome to spend your money on whatever you want to spend it on, and use it for whatever you want to use it for. Nothing wrong with that. What I'm trying to do here is offer people suggestions, or make them aware of options they may not have otherwise been aware of. But, you know, I'm telling this to the world, not to any specific individual. And I don't expect the content I make to apply the majority of people that watch my content in general. I think most people watch the content and say, well, that's interesting, right? The idea is that you now are aware of something that you didn't know before. And if a situation arises in your life, or somebody you know, where you're like, oh, I remember seeing Carey talk about this, then it offers you the option to solve that without necessarily having to do a lot of research. It might just become instant. You realize, oh, I could see now where that thing Carey showed a few months ago would be beneficial for me. Or maybe it doesn't happen at all. Maybe it's just interesting to watch how this technology continues to evolve and the prices continue to drop. And then, of course, what's changing? It's always changing. When we talk about bloatware, that's really a thing of the past. And I can't emphasize, when I hear people talking about bloatware, I feel like they're living in the past, or they're redefining bloatware. That's not what bloatware is. And so I don't, you know, when I hear that, I just think, you know, here's somebody still harping on about something from years ago. What we talk about here on this channel is what's going on today. And it's important for me to do that so people don't have the excuse to say, I didn't know it's changed, right? Because if you're not in this dealing with the scale of things that I'm dealing with, I have more computers coming in here likely in a month than most of you will have in a life. And that's not a brag, it's just when we talk about the scale, I'm in the trenches dealing with those changes pretty much live as they're happening. And I do see the fade away of those other repairs or issues of the past disappear. They just don't exist anymore, except for the folks who still hold on to old stuff. And for those folks who have the old stuff, the old mentality still applies. But for the rest of us keeping up now, part of the keeping up isn't just looking at the new tech, but also the changes. Every one of those updates, for example, the cumulative updates, change how Windows works, and oftentimes ways that something that I used to do, I don't have to do anymore. Or something I never had to do before, like customize the PowerShell commands to allow for guest fallback and SMB authentication being turned off, now become routine for me. And just as I learned how to do that to fix these issues with networking that I never had to do before, none of that applies to the older stuff. And the stuff that I used to do for the older stuff, some of it, in fact, probably most of it, I still do. There's a good 20% I don't do anymore. And then in a few years, it'll be another 20% and another 20%. Eventually, 100% of that won't apply anymore. So that's where I kind of get my panties in a bunch, is when I hear somebody still talking about 20 years ago. And I'm like, come on, guys. This isn't, we're not here to restore old computers necessarily, or, you know, vintage machines. But yet I see a lot of the advice being vintage advice. And it seems people are not aware that they've not updated their knowledge. So I'm here to help keep you up to date if you choose to be. And again, if you're running 20-year-old hardware, that 20-year-old knowledge still applies. But 20-year-old knowledge today on these machines, too much has changed. At least that's the way I see it. Phil Stodd said, it seems that many PC manufacturers are producing for a worldwide market, and different regions have specific local requirements, ergo the multiple language versions of the software. We're not really seeing that. When I pull up, I mean, if you go back, Phil, and you look at other mini PC reviews, how many times have you seen Microsoft Office 365 installed, pre-installed in multiple languages like we saw today? I've seen it, I don't know, I'd seen it 3 or 4 times. And usually it's from the lesser known brands that haven't quite customized their install to, they don't know. They're not enthusiasts. They're investors trying to make money selling a product. They're not necessarily home computer users that decided one day I'm going to start a mini PC manufacturing company. These are two different people, right? They don't get into the weeds when they're in the business of running manufacturing. So what I consider my job to be is to represent that back to them. That's why they send units for review. At least I hope that's why. So I can give them feedback. Say, well, we don't like this and we don't like that. They don't have to take my feedback. They could say, hey, too bad, or usually they say thank you and we'll take it under consideration. Then we just see, you know, what ends up happening. Enough people complain, they'll adapt it. So, you know, I don't just do this for you guys, I do it for the manufacturer. The manufacturers oftentimes, not so much these days, but certainly a few years ago and beyond, they just want you to sing their praises. They don't want to hear any criticism. And that's frustrating for me, because those same manufacturers will pay tens of thousands to consultants. Outside consultants come in and tell them what to do. And those outside consultants, who are they? What makes them qualified? So here I am as a technician representing the type of work that I do, giving them feedback that I think is priceless. To have them act like I'm insulting them is offensive to me. And then you won't see those brands here anymore. We go separate ways. They just want to hear praise, and I just want to see a better product. The good news is, when you do see a product over and over, whether it's Minisform or Ace Magic or Peladin, that means they appreciate the feedback and they value it. Because if they were offended by it, we wouldn't see any more from them. And if that's the way the company wants to be, well, we don't want any more from them, quite frankly. You know, I have other things I can do on this channel. If I feel a company is really trying their best and we can help them out and they appreciate the help, under no condition, they don't have to do something in a deadline. They're not forcing me to do anything in a deadline. I give them the same they give me, right? And I say, honestly, I wouldn't put Office on this. Not the way you did it. I wouldn't put PC Manager on this. I would not alter the Windows 11 installer except for the bypass NRO. That I'm on board with. Other than that, leave it alone. Now that's just my opinion. Me and of myself, who am I? What authority do I have? Nothing. I have none. And I've seen companies immediately respond and correct it, and I've seen other companies, okay, we heard you. Okay, that's all I ask. It's not my business. I don't run your company, and I'm not in charge of making decisions. But if it was mine, this is what I would do differently, and you take that and do whatever you want with it. And we'll see. We'll see how Peladin responds. And I think, here's my suspicion, I think they're still new. I think they're still getting their feet from, solidly on the ground here. And I think this feedback is going to be very valuable for them. And that's also what I hope. But regardless, I like the brand. I like the quality of it. And as I mentioned, you can always just reinstall Windows if it bothers you that much. In fact, what I like about Miniswarm is you can just order the machine bare bones. And we're going to recommend Peladin also maybe offer some bare bones machines as well. And also take that sticker off the bottom here, this tamper sticker that has no place in the United States. It's all feedback. It's not intended to be hurtful or insulting. It's just genuine feedback for a better product, a more valuable product to an American consumer, in my opinion. Which, that and $4 will get me a cup of coffee at Starbucks. So anyway, Phil, I suppose what I was getting at is if we started to see an epidemic of pre-installed software, I would not build an uninstaller into an optimizer. Like, there's customizing, there's optimizing, and there's uninstalling, which could fall under customizing, but it's not an optimization. So for me personally, I would just suggest reinstalling the operating system. If that became an epidemic, then let's just make this a routine. Because the problem is those installs change. What Office 365 is today won't be the same next year. And then that means the uninstaller has to be changed. Now the uninstaller becomes the bloat, because now you've got years and years of different machines with different configurations at that time when you bought it that you have to look for to see if it's installed to uninstall it. And then your debloating tool becomes a piece of bloat that you need to debloat. And ultimately it takes more time and effort to keep it maintained and teach people how to use it than just simply uninstalling the unwanted app or reinstall Windows from scratch. Those two things are always the same. They never change. So if we can teach a man to fish versus feed a man a fish, then we feed a man for life versus feeding a man one meal. And it's that attitude that I'd like to carry forward, is that if there is a common trend, such as a Windows setting I don't like, that I don't think is optimized, then I'm going to adjust it, but not outside of Microsoft's rules. I'm not doing anything, taking any shortcuts, or adding a key to the registry that was never there, only to find out 6 months from now that an update won't apply anymore, and it traces back to my optimizer. But that's usually the way a lot of these system utilities work. They play it a little dirty, and end users don't know. And the consequences that can happen because of that system utility may not be known for months or years, and will never be traced back to it. So I avoid them, generally speaking, because of the unknown gamble. Because in my business, those unknown gambles, if that gamble is a loss, it costs me money, not my customer. It costs my customer inconvenience. And that, between losing the money and potentially losing the customer as a result, it's not worth it to me. And if it's not worth it to me, why would it be worth it to you? But, it's your decision to make. Bill Stodd said, when a coworker asks to borrow a tool a second time, it shows the tool is important to perform his duties. They need to buy their own tool. Yeah, but we're not talking about like a wrench or a bolt. Like a lot of cars now, they use that 14 millimeter socket. It's like everything uses 14 millimeter now. And if your friend keeps needing a 14 millimeter wrench, you say, go buy a 14. You know, this isn't a one-time thing. You're going to keep needing it. But there's no universal 14 millimeter that we're dealing with in the equivalent of the PC. So seeing Office and OneNote installed like that, it's not the first time we've seen it, but it's pretty rare. And I think the manufacturer will adjust. I do think they will. But we'll see. Rupin says, I see that Minisforum is going to offer a NAS. Yep. It looks a lot like a mini PC NAS all in one. Quite impressed with their innovation and product rollout. I agree. I'm not sure I want a first generation NAS, whether it's Ugreen or anybody else, but I love that they're getting into it and what it could be. I wouldn't mind reviewing one either, but I wouldn't rely on it. For me, the NAS is a very important part of my business, as it is for my business clients. That's nothing I want to toy with. But to sort of familiarize myself with it, see where we're at on a first-gen product, I think would make for an interesting video, but nothing I would recommend for anybody that has anything important. If you like to be a pioneer and you like to be first, then first-generation products are the way to go. But seeing what Synology is doing is pushing away consumers and focusing on businesses certainly leaves an openness in the space for consumers looking for NASs for other entries that may not have otherwise been considered. So thanks to Synology, companies like Minisforum have a better chance at better sales. Jim KJ3N says 20-year-old hardware should have been retired 12 years ago. I agree with you, Jim. Absolutely. But people going to do what people going to do. There's plenty of dangerous cars on the road running with no brakes or bad brakes and frames that are rusting apart that should not be legally on the road, and they're too cheap or they don't have the money to get it fixed, and they'll just keep driving that car until it's not drivable anymore. And the rest of us just have to deal with it, And Jim continues on that Synology's latest move to restrict to only their drives is going to alienate a lot of people. I do think, Jim, that is Synology's intention. They want to alienate those people. I don't think you're really seeing what Synology is doing here. This is a very polite way to tell you that if you're in that class of purchaser, we don't want you buying from us. That's what Synology is doing. It's just, they're not like me. I would just tell you, I don't want your business. Synology has a more professional, polished, boilerplate corporate doublespeak kind of approach. And, well, this isn't their words, it's my interpretation. I have to interpret corporate doublespeak all the time. It's a way ordinary people don't talk in my world. When somebody says to me, I'm going to take a bio break. You got to go to the toilet? It's a bio break. It's a toilet. Hey, let's go to the ideation room. The what room? The room where we can discuss ideas. Spitballing. You want to spitball? No. It's ideation, Carey. No, it isn't. This is why I don't work in corporate America. Do you people believe your nonsense? Does this make you feel smart? Just talk like a normal person. We're going to do a paradigm shift. What? Yeah, we're pivoting. Okay. Is this a playground? Are we at recess? I don't understand. You have a new idea and you want to go in a different direction? I get it. Fine. You're letting me go. Oh, it's so ridiculous and absurd. It cracks me up. So yeah, that's what I think Synology is doing. Synology says you got to use our drives. But by the way, everybody that cares about that, this is our polite way of telling you, we don't want your business. You cost us too much money, you're too much trouble, you're too finicky, you're too intolerant. It's more about, this whole thing comes back to the repair shops closing. And I believe you're going to see more and more companies like Synology closing out consumers. They cost too much money and they're too much trouble. And I think that's what Synology is doing, is saying, look, we want to deal with businesses, companies that spend money and have staff that knows what they're doing, presumably in an IT department to set up our equipment, so we're not tutoring and dealing with constantly intolerant people that pay us very little once every 10 years to make one sale. We don't want those customers anymore. So how do we box them out without telling them they're not welcome? How do we tell them they're not welcome without using those words? Well, what Synology is doing may be just that. And for you to interpret it that, oh, they could have consequences. Oh no, I don't think you're looking at this right. I think you're not getting the message. But I could be wrong. I've just dealt enough with corporations. This feels very familiar to me. It's just corporate talk for saying something very rude. Mark Leibowitz said, hey, I just replaced a new client's 20-year-old computer with a nice new mini PC. The old desktop was full of bird feathers and down, but it still worked. It even had the original hard drive. Wow. Well, I bet that's a happy customer. Does anyone want to guess how much data degraded off that old 20-year-old drive? Yeah, that's another thing, that data degradation on drives that sit for a long time is a wonderful conspiracy theory that holds scientific theory right up to the truth that eventually in time everything disappears. The question is it going to happen in a normal human lifespan? And people think that that's a thing, but no one's really been able to prove it, at least in one human life. And so Mark is just emphasizing what I've been saying, is it's not a thing. Data does corrupt, and data does, for one reason or another, can be inaccessible on any storage device. But to be able to prove that that happened because of time, no one's ever proven that. It's strictly a theory. But don't let them stop. Don't let that stop them from making videos, letting people be scared about stuff. And that's why you have backups anyway. So even if I'm wrong, and that's a thing, somebody proves me wrong, bring it on. You still should have had backups regardless. Thank you, Mark. Martin Hogg saying hello from the UK, where it's 11 o'clock in the evening. Jim Kenny says, could you use OneDrive as cloud backup? Yeah, well, that's what it's for. That's exactly its purpose. So here's the dilemma. We're living in a world where everybody thinks their data is really all that important. And these people are not authority figures, they're not, celebrities, they're not politicians. And I'm thinking to myself, why does anybody care what your data is? But there are, again, I don't like absolutes. There are situations where you could be unknowingly causing yourself harm with installing apps to save you money that are then used against you. So an item in the news was the app, what is it, Life 360 or something, and Gas Buddy to find cheap gas. Those are owned by Allstate Insurance Company, I guess. And they report that data and sell the data, which could cause your car insurance rates to go up. And here's a perfect example of saying, well, see, Carey, this is why I said my data this, my data that. What's frustrating for me is when I go somewhere like a grocery store And they say, do you have our loyalty app? Well, I have the loyalty card. Oh, we don't do the cards anymore. I go, well, it works, right? And they go, yeah, but if you lose it, you'll have to put the app on the phone. No, I won't. We had an insurance company want us to download their app. They said, hey, I'm your new insurance agent for your car and homeowners insurance, and we just called to see if there's anything we can do to save you money. No, you're not. We did not initiate or request a call. Person says, are you busy? Yeah, I'm always busy. Does the person say, sorry to bother you? No, they keep going with this. It's just a sales call from a company we're giving our money to already, and they're not getting enough of it, but they want to save us money. What can I do for you? He says, well, you know, you could save money by installing our app, and you can do the Safe Driver program. Nope, not doing it. Okay, well, when you pay your bill online, you know, you can use the app to pay the bill. I don't use your app to pay my bill, but you could. Well, I'm well aware of that, and I choose not to. Well, this guy wants to keep having a conversation. I got things to do today, guy. Listen, if I need you, I'll call you. Have a nice day. And the guy continues. Yeah, but I go, no, have a nice day, bye, and then hang up. I was polite as long as I could be polite. Done. We're done. I've given you every opportunity to respect my boundaries. I've verified these are my boundaries. Boy, they really want that app on your phone. So I also feel like an old guy. When I go out to the restaurant to eat, they say, are you a member of our loyalty program? I am, because I eat there a lot. So let me pull up my member number in email. Oh, you don't have the app? No. Well, it's so much easier if you have the app. I know. And I said, everybody wants me to put their app on my phone. The grocery store, every competitor in your space in the restaurant industry, the insurance company, every bill I pay, they all want space on my phone. No. I said no. And it's not so much about the privacy for me, as it's about the resources. I don't want to look at screen after screen of icons trying to find the one I want. And I don't want to have to reinstall and reconfigure that every single time I get a new phone. I don't need it. But I will say, these free things like Gas Buddy, you should have known. You should have known with Gas Buddy. You should have known with the Honey browser extension. You should know with any browser extension you're being spied on. Ad blockers spying on you. Any free browser extension, you should know that. Any type of put our app on your phone. That's your phone, that's your resources, it's your RAM, it's your storage. Why are you giving it to them? They need to pay rent if they want to be on my phone. That's my bigger concern. They want to be in my browser, they need to pay me. Or I've paid them like RoboForm. I want that in my browser. Malwarebytes, browser safeguard, I want that in my browser. Okay, that's what I want. They can't protect me if they don't know where I'm going. It's part of how the software works. RoboForm can't offer me the password and login to a site that I'm trying to keep secret from them. How does that work in your mind? So it's the free stuff that you really got to be aware of. What you don't know in that scenario, you should assume you're not going to like those terms and conditions. It's going to come back to you no matter what it is. So I have a hard, fast rule that says, if I'm paying for something, I'll put the app on. If I'm not paying for it, the app's not going on the phone. There's no free apps. Wait, let me think. GoodRx is a good app for medications here in the US. There are a couple exceptions, but overall, you can't just tell me you should put the app on to make it easier, because you're going to pay for that convenience, whether you realize it or not. But that's different than a privacy concern. Like, to me, people come across like what they're doing is secretive or there's some power in it. There isn't. But yet at the same time, those things can be used against you by, let's say, for example, this whole app for safe driving. How do they know you're the one driving? You know what I mean? Just because it shows your phone is in motion and it's going at an excessive speed, or they determine that to be irresponsible, that they want to raise your rates now, when you were in an electric cart inside of Target, not in a car. That's insane. The assumption that you're the one driving. So I think that's all going to be illegal. Just give it some time for the lawmakers, you know, for the lawyers to sue on behalf of the customers. And I think this will all be rewound here in the United States. But yeah, I mean, that's a valid privacy concern, but just for a different reason than what I think of when I think of privacy. Phil Stott said retailers are always frustrated till I refuse them to give them my phone number to make a purchase. Hey, when I worked at Radio Shack in 1986, we used to have a pen and paper and we would manually write up your receipt. We'd say, can I have your name? Can I have your address, your city, your state, your zip code? I don't think we asked for a phone number. Customers all the time, why do you want that? I'm just buying some battery. Well, we'll include you on our newsletter. You get the free, you know, the thing we put in the mail. Get the free flashlight. I don't want that. Okay, that's fine. We didn't twist anybody's arm if they didn't want to give it to us. We didn't want to write it down. You think I want to do that? I was told I had to by management. I have to ask you your name and address. You don't have to provide it. You don't have to get pissed off about it. Just, I'd rather not. Okay. Or if you have questions, why the heck do you want my name and address when I'm buying some $2 thing? We collect it for any purchase. Why? Why do you think? I mean, come on. I mean, I couldn't say that, but I mean, really? Not much has changed. I mean, it's still the same. We're just not writing it down by hand anymore. Hey, there's Mitch Morrison. He says, may the 4th be with you. Back at you, Mitch. Hey, you know, we're talking about maybe Mitch joining us on Friday. We'll give you more info on that as it develops. News at 11. Doman 2000 said ad blockers like uBlock Origin is fine. Is it though? How does ad block or uBlock by Origin, how do they make their money? There's a big part of that you don't know and I don't know. And when you find out, you're going to probably regret saying that it's safer. At what cost? There is a price you're paying to use it. And I'm not telling you not to use it. But if you think that there's not conditions and strings attached just because you can't see them, oh, I think you're in for a shock. John Downey says, Carey, a sales call from an insurance company saved him $200,000. Their house was underinsured and they upgraded their insurance. And later, whoops. Later, their house blew away. Insurance paid for a new house. What was insurance going to do before? Some people, so here's the other thing insurance companies will do. If you have the same car or auto insurance for 4 years, they know you're not going anywhere. So their rates are not going to be competitive anymore. They know the odds are you're just going to pay it. So they'll keep raising your rates under the statistical likelihood that you will not shop around. Because if you were somebody who shops around, you would have done it in 4 years. If you've stuck with the same insurance company for more than 4 years, you're paying too much. I guarantee it. In the United States, you are paying too much. And the fact that you haven't shopped around means you don't know. That's what they're counting on. So for me to be in a situation where an insurance company is going to call me and say I'm underinsured, that would imply that I've been with them a very long time. I've not been with any insurance company more than 4 years, ever. That's because pretty much every year when the bill gets hiked up, I shop around to make sure I'm still getting a good rate. I don't wait. I don't have that kind of money. So I will make sure that I'm paying a fair rate. And if the rates have gone up universally across insurance companies, I'll stay with where I'm at. Usually before year 4, I find a much cheaper rate. And then I kick myself wondering how long have I been overpaying. but I know it hasn't been more than 4 years. And every time I get that insurance quote, then I'm getting reinsured again based on the value of what the house is or the value of what the car is at that time, along with the driving habits. I don't put as many miles on the car after the pandemic as I was doing pre-pandemic, and it hasn't changed. I might put a tank of gas in the car once a month. That's it. I barely drive now. Just a lot of local errands, a couple blocks this way or that way. Driving across town, almost never. And certainly every day in rush hour, Monday through Friday, I don't do that anymore. So I let the insurance company know when I'm getting a quote, and that can also reduce my quote. So for me, the way that I use my insurance, that seems very unlikely that I would be, having the wrong rate. That implies you've been with an insurance company a long time and have not revisited that policy in a long time. Which, of course, things have changed, and if you don't call and ask, waiting for them to do it, to me, that's just not the way to get things done. I'll call you. And that way, if it doesn't get done and I am underinsured, that's my fault. Let's see. Let me go back over to full screen on camera 2. Let's get rid of camera 1. Okay, so we've got all our updates put in. So again, like this Xbox, it's not bloat. Just uninstall. 1, 2. I can't even get to 2 seconds. It's Office 365. Uninstall. This is a different thing. 1, 2. Couldn't even get to 2. Right click on Outlook New. Uninstall. 1, 2. I don't know why people think 2 seconds is a long time. Like, I don't know what all the complaining is about. Where's the outrage here? It's absurd for people to react that way. But, what am I going to do? I'm just showing you in real life, live and unscripted, that people will complain for 10 minutes over a 5-second problem. I've been going over a 10-second problem for 2 hours and 22 minutes. I cracked myself up. All right, so we're just checking for updates one more time. Now, one of the things I will also do that almost nobody does is run a disk cleanup on those. And I mean nobody, not the manufacturers, not the people who build their own PCs. They don't know any better. They think they know until you show them and they go, oh, I never thought to do that. So I always run a disk cleanup, especially when you have a smaller storage drive. But any storage drive by today's standards for a lot of people is too small. So I want to run that disk cleanup regularly. I do that on my clients that I do MSP service for. I don't know any other MSP that does it. It's something unique that I do, that I know I'm not the only one, but it's just not common knowledge. So here, for example, we've finished running our Windows update, right? We're all caught up here. So I would close this, but all those Windows updates, where did they go? They're still sitting on the drive. So if I type in disk cleanup or even just start to type it, you'll see here, this cleanup shows up. And then I click here where it says cleanup system files. Now, if you've been watching for a while, you probably already know this, but for the benefit of new viewers, and as a reminder to current viewers, have you been running this on your computer? Because if not, I highly recommend you go and check every single box, every one of them. You don't need any of this crap. This is going to free up 5.1 gigs on this current system with updates, whatever the manufacturer of the PC has left behind. When you consider the drive is only a 512 gig drive, 5 gigs is a lot of space. But if it was a 1 terabyte or 4 terabyte NVMe, 5 gigs is still a lot of space. So why not? There's nothing in there we need. Unless you think you're going to uninstall one of those updates, why would you do that? Remove that temptation and just uninstall those Windows Update files, which is what it's doing right now, so that you can have your drive space for the reason that you want to use it, for your purposes. Just like the apps on my phone, that's my resources, that's my processor, that's my $1,200 phone. I'm not just renting out space on it for free. You got to be out of your mind. Oh, we'll give you a discount. No, your discount is not equal to the value of rent that I would charge you. It's like me saying, I will live in a bedroom in your house and I'll give you $2.15 a month. Okay. You and I both know the value of rent every month, and that room that you've got is way, way more than that. It's not even the same. But people want that convenience, and they're paying for it. They don't, it's ignorance. They don't know. For example, with the Gas Buddy, that their insurance rate went up because the Gas Buddy app is reporting where they're going and how fast they're driving. One person said their car's automatic braking system that they have no control over is excessively showing these stops, these unexpected stops that the insurance company then sees based on the app on the phone that they don't even know is reporting this as erratic driving and raising their insurance rates when they have no control over the automatic braking system on the car. Oh boy, Katrina's got a dad joke. She says to Mitch, what did the windows say to the Christmas tree when it fell out into the window? Tremendous. I guess the tree needs to be mended. Do you know when a joke becomes a dad joke? When it becomes apparent. Apparent. Never mind. All right, now that we've done that, let's restart the computer just to give it a chance to clean up any other files that might be in use. So you might get a Windows updates are installing on a restart. If so, that's not a Windows update. That would be the Windows cleanup finishing. That doesn't always happen, but the only way to know is to restart and see if it does. And if you do see Windows updates are installing, that's the Windows cleanup finishing the cleanup. That's all that is. I know Microsoft could do a better job at explaining that, but that's why I'm here. Scott says he ran disk cleanup this morning. Right on. Carey, do you stress test these mini PCs? Well, can you give me an example of how you would use a mini PC that you would stress it? That's what I'm trying to understand. So to answer your question, oftentimes I will, but it's like asking me if I ever do, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example. If I emulate race car driving in a little tiny compact cheap car, you know, I got a Chevy Spark. Do you ever put that on the racetrack and race it? No, it's not a race car. Why would I do that? Here's the way I see it as a computer technician. If you're running something on the mini PC and you're worried that it can't handle what it is you're going to use it for, this is not the right computer for you. You should not be buying this. These are not designed to be under a stress load every day unless you buy, it's still called a mini PC, but they have like the bigger mini PCs, the larger ones. Those are sold for a reason. Why do you think they exist? So if I want to put this little Peladin through the ringer on a daily basis for applications that I demand, this is not the right tool for that compared to, let's say, over there I've got the Minis Forum AIX1 or the MSO1. These are physically much larger, more capable units that are designed for that high level of stress. None of these, not a single one of these, is designed to be under a high level of stress over and over, day after day after day. They'll do it in much the same way that you can run a Chevy Spark around a racetrack every day. That wasn't what it was built to do, and forcing it to do that is just an unrealistic expectation. So they've already got the Cinebench results on Peladin's site, and we could certainly run Cinebench on it and we can take a look. But anybody that does Cinebench kind of work regularly on a little mini PC just is an unreasonable person. you did not buy the right tool. You didn't buy a race car when you bought the Chevy Spark. If you wanted a race car, they do make them. They cost more money. If you want to run something that's stressful all the time on your mini PC, buy a more expensive mini PC. They all will do it, but a more expensive PC will do it better. It won't potentially have to work as hard, generate as much fan noise, and will be faster at accomplishing the task. And it'll cost you 2 to 3 times more money. So for all of that logic and reason, a computer isn't a computer any more than a car is a car. You can't tell me that you would test a pickup truck the same way you would test a sports car, the same way you would test a minivan, the same way you would test a box truck and a school bus and a diesel lorry versus, let's say, an off-road Jeep and an electric car, or a hybrid car, or a car built for luxury, or a car built for speed, or a car built for capacity. These are all different tasks in each design, whether it's an SUV, whether it's a sports car, convertible, whether it's electric. They all serve different purposes. They all at different price points, and they all need to be tested according to the design for which they were built. But to say every car should go down the Rubicon Trail and we should see how well it is, most cars are not going to survive that. It's a very unique stress test. And so when we run these stress tests on these computers, they are not accurate simulations of any real work. So for that reason, I will sometimes run them out of curiosity, but I would expect nobody would be running a mini PC like this at this price point under a load like that on anything other than occasionally. But they will do it. Let me go full screen on camera 1 because I think we're mostly done with today's test on this. We've been 2.5 hours on this, and you know, again, super easy to get to the bottom. Open this up. They've got pictures of it open online there, so I don't necessarily think a stress test is going to be useful for us today, given how much time we've already taken. I don't think opening this up is going to expose anything we haven't already seen and expect underneath there, again, given how much time we've already spent on it. They also make other models if this is falling short for you in some way. They have all different price points, and that's why they offer more than one model. It's not a matter of taking one model and customizing it to your need. That's the old school way of thinking. If you're a builder, then build what you want. But when it comes to mini PCs, you can get anything the way you want it, as long as you're willing to pay for it. They're across the gamut from $100 to $2,500. If that's what you want to buy, just make sure you're buying the right thing. But rather than buying something you have to custom make to that limit, I would say, or to that mentality, I would say look for a bare bones mini PC that you could add your own RAM, storage, and operating system to. Minisforum sells a lot of those, and that may be up your alley. Most consumers wouldn't know what to do with that, but for those technically minded enough, once again, that would be the extent of any customization. I would not put an external GPU dock on any of these. I just think it's foolish, and I think it's a huge waste of money. But that's just my personal preference, and it's based on the type of work I do, right? Nobody's asked me to do that for them. Nobody wants to pay for that. So if that changes, I'll let you know. It's just not a thing. It's strictly a hobbyist activity, which is great. Enjoy your hobby. Nobody's making any money at hobbies. You're spending money. Spend. Have a good time. I'm trying to make a living, earn a living. And I go where the work is. And I keep emphasizing over and over again, I think too many viewers are watching enthusiasts on YouTube and thinking what they're doing is normal. Most of it's not normal. Some of these guys do a great job, don't get me wrong. I'm not putting them down. I'm just saying they're not held accountable to anybody. It doesn't matter. If I put one of these in place at a customer's office and I say, this is my recommendation and you're paying me for this, and I'm going to warranty this, what happens when this breaks? Does the reviewer get the phone call to, hey, you need to repair or replace this? Never, never. But if you sold one of these to a customer and you ever want to see that customer again, or you want that customer to come back and buy some more from you, you better make sure what you're selling you can stand behind. And you better make sure that you're willing to take on the responsibility to repair or replace it at your cost to keep your customer happy. So my bar is much higher because of the consequences that I suffer, meaning that I could be without a job if all I'm trying to do is grab money and have no responsibility. Think of it like a commercial. If you buy a product because you saw a commercial on it, and that product is terrible, there's little recourse you have. But to the person who sold it to you, where the transaction happened, there is liability. And that's the difference I'm trying to underscore on these. The reason you're going to hear something very different from me than you typically hear, because most of the content creators have no consequences, zero consequences to anything they say or advise. I would love it if I didn't have any consequences. That sounds like paradise. I could just do whatever I wanted, and if it caused anybody harm or damage, it wouldn't be my responsibility. And yet I would still be paid? Wow, where do I sign up for that? I'd still feel bad though. I still wouldn't do it, but I see the appeal of it. Jim says, when I built a PC in the past, I stress test them to ensure the components perform. Yeah, if we were building a computer and we were putting the parts together based on our own judgment, such as a heatsink, is that heatsink going to be good enough in that case with that CPU under a stress? Absolutely. We stress test it. On the other hand, if we've already built this same system over and over again with the same components, so we know these components do work together well and adequately keep its system cool and etc., then I suppose I'd still stress test it to ensure I built it correctly. The idea behind a pre-built system is all of that's already been done. This isn't one person sitting down on a factory floor putting this together. This is a team of engineers working with what is mostly an automated process, doing more testing and research that makes your stress testing look like a playground. The amount of work in stress testing and research that goes into developing the custom circuit boards and cases to get these this small is far more advanced than you can possibly imagine. Therefore, any stress testing is redundant and a fraction or even a joke of what these factories have done, that the developers have done before mass producing these. We got to talk about consequences. Let's say, for example, Peladin makes this machine in such a way that they did not stress test it. And as a result now, units are failing left and right throughout their warranty period. Now it's costing Peladin money. Peladin, not Peloton. Now it's costing them money when they didn't even make that much on it to begin with, right? Let's think about this. On a $300 machine, how much of that do you think is profit? Separate out the box, the packaging, the hardware, the labor, the shipping, the marketing. How much money do you think they made? How much money will they lose if they have to replace this under warranty? What if every single one they built has to be replaced under warranty? How does that math work? How does that company stay in business? They won't. And some companies don't. We talked about that Zulu brand. What happened to them? In the market where there are consequences, the cream rises to the top and the others, they just vanish away into the ether, never to be seen again. The marketplace decides. And without consequences, you would be justified in wanting to test everything because it's a Wild West in that scenario where there's no warranty and there's no support. That's the world of AliExpress. It's too much gambling. When you're buying from a reputable manufacturer who stands behind their product with a warranty, you're redundant at that point doing any stress testing. It's pointless. If you have any problem, it's not your problem, it's their problem. But if you build it yourself, it's your problem. You see what I'm getting at? So again, just as we wouldn't stress test every single type of vehicle the same way, we also don't have the same expectation of testing on a pre-built from a reputable manufacturer versus, AliExpress versus building it ourselves. I hope that makes sense to you. And again, when I do stress test them, it's often because we're afforded the time and it's just curiosity. But rarely is that ever an issue. The worst that'll happen is it'll thermal throttle. It won't crash. It'll just slow down, maybe gets loud, and you've overstressed it to a point where you shouldn't be using this for whatever it is you're doing. This wasn't the right tool. It's rarely the mini PC's fault. It's usually the end user abusing it, where they've underpurchased something and are torturing it. And yeah. So stress testing under certain scenarios makes sense, and under other scenarios does not make sense. It's not a universal truth or an absolute. Scott says, get what meets your needs. Yep. It's the perfect dork wants to know, do these mini PCs have a standard like the ITX layout? They do not, no. There is a very common form factor that's used. However, we're not just talking about width, we're also talking about height. And each manufacturer can decide and offer a unique product that meets whatever their values are, or whatever they're trying to bring to market. They're not locked into a standard in that way. You will see that there are companies like Peladin that sell the same boards under different names, like Triku and Wowie, for example. B-Link does that with TrigKey and a couple other brands. It's pretty common practice. And you might say, well, these are all the same and therefore a standard. No, just a standard for that company, not a standard for the industry. Now, there are small boards you can build yourself. However, they're already going to have the CPUs soldered on just like a laptop, and good luck finding a case. So in that way, they're pretty much all going to be proprietary in design, and they don't have anything really serviceable in them any more than, think of it like a laptop. There's really nothing serviceable in a laptop. You can maybe upgrade the RAM and the storage and the Wi-Fi card. That's it. Or a phone. What are you going to do? You're going to add storage to this? I mean, I suppose back in the day you could put a micro SD card in, but same with a tablet. These are more similar to laptops than they are to desktops. And they're cheaper to manufacture. You get more for the money. It's smaller, it's lighter, it uses less power. What's not to like? Bill Stodd said mini PC selection has become more confusing than an AI local language model, large language model. Yeah, so paralysis analysis, right? Or analysis paralysis, where you get too many choices, you can't make one. We do know there are certain manufacturers like Minisforum, Peladin, for example, Geekom. There's a few others that have been around a while, and I don't think they're going anywhere. And then you've got some others that might be more aggressively priced from names you've never heard of before, and that may be more risk in exchange for a lower price. That's up to you to decide if you want to go that route. If you're looking for peace of mind, buy from Amazon. You have a 30-day return on almost everything they sell there. Make sure that it says you've got that 30-day return. And you're just not going to know until you try it. You need a point of reference to determine personally how it works for you. If it doesn't work for you for any reason, you simply return it. But don't be discouraged. Continue your quest. Find something else. When you find something you like, please let us know what it was that you liked about it, what it was that differed for you to keep it versus return it. And I assure you, well, your values and requirements are uniquely yours. There will be others that can relate to you in what you were looking for more than they can relate to me. And so in that way, the community helps each other. We love hearing from people who've actually spent their own money to buy a product, whether it's a keyboard or whatever I'm showing here. And let us know, did you like it or not like it, and why? I've sometimes seen people come into the comment section and say, well, I didn't like it. Well, you got to tell me why. Or this is better than what you showed. Why? Don't just, because I can't tell you're just not a competitor coming in and being nasty, trying to downgrade your competitor's product. I need reasons why. What made it better? What made it worse? Tell me. Tell us all, please. We would appreciate that perspective. That way we could determine if we agree with you, what you think is better is better. If I tell you a Kit Kat bar is better than a Snickers bar, you may not agree. That doesn't mean I'm wrong. But if I don't tell you why, I'm probably just the competitor trying to tell you not to buy the other product, right? That's what's going on the internet right now. I was going to look something up here. Brought my glasses out for something. Oh, let's see if we wanted to wipe and reinstall Windows 11. Can we get the drivers for this? That's what I wanted to check. Let me jump back over here. Now, granted, we already have the drivers. With a DOS, with a PowerShell command, we can extract those drivers right now. No third-party software, no money needs to be spent. But what if something happened, we didn't have a backup, or we just want to wipe Windows and we don't want to carry over any drivers? We want to start from scratch with nothing. How would we do that? This is an issue with a lot of AliExpress and smaller manufacturers that don't have any web presence that we can find. Peladin does have a web presence, so let's find out. Let's go back over here. And what would we do for driver support? I would maybe start with a Google search. And I would search for Peladin W7, not 0, O. Driver download. Okay. Peladin.com downloads. That sounds like a good place to go. Right to the manufacturer, not to a third party. let's see, HOWO432156 Okay. WI7. No, WO. I wish I knew what these letters stood for. There's got to be a rhyme and a reason. WO7. How about just Control F? W07. 0 of 0. Well, do we have a model that's so new that not only are there no reviews on Amazon for it, but the website has not been updated? That is very likely. As a content creator, we often get hardware and equipment that's not yet publicly available or is in the process. I'm going to make an assumption here, given how many models of mini PC are listed, they're clearly not shy about posting them, that they just haven't done it yet. So I will remind myself when I reach out to Peladin about the Office install, the Microsoft OneNote install, the PC Manager pre-install, that I don't like any of that being altered from the original image. But also, where are my drivers? And just to remind them, they're not posted yet. And when can I expect them? Because they're simply not here. But this is where we would find them. Now, some of you are saying, okay, Carey, you can't just tease us like that and tell us you have a PowerShell command that backs up the drivers and not tell us what it is. I've told you what it is time and time again. Okay. Here's a little tip from your Uncle Carey when it comes to stuff like this, because many of you probably haven't seen me before. Maybe you missed that episode. We're going to go back over here for a second, and I'll just demonstrate over here. Screen. And I'm going to go to YouTube. And I'm going to type in CareyHolzman, all one word, driver backup. Let's see what it pulls up here. Easy and free driver backup walkthrough and tutorial. 13 minutes. And there it is. That's how you do it. It's really easy, so I don't have to keep repeating myself over and over and over again any more than I already do. This video has been available for 11 months, nearly a year, with only 6,200 views out of 300 million Windows 10 users, Windows 11 users. By the way, this works on 10 and 11. It's free, no third-party software, no big deal. So I could run in this video my instructions, back up the drivers onto a flash drive, wipe this computer completely clean, install my Windows 11. Where did you get that, Carey? Guess what? We're going to go back to YouTube and type in CareyHolzman, download Windows 11. It's all there. Then I can install Windows 11 from scratch. When the Windows 11 install is done, still remaining disconnected from the network the whole time, I plug in my flash drive and I restore my drivers. Then I download my Windows updates, and then I've got a clean machine without the Office or PC Manager. I'll still put PC Manager on it, but I do that. I don't expect it from the factory. These are all options if you wish to pursue them. Mark Leibowitz said he received the Trig Key Mini PC with the AMD Ryzen 7 5850U CPU, 16 gigs of RAM and a 500 gig solid-state drive. It's set up just like every other mini PC I've ever bought, and it performs great, and Amazon has sold out of it. Yeah, well, I think with the tariffs, there's probably going to be some low distribution for a little bit until that gets worked out. Phil's Dot said, I have a mini PC that you introduced a few months ago, and I'm very happy with it. I also have the Asus Zen Wi-Fi 7, also introduced by you. Oh, the mesh system. And it performs outstanding. Nice. I see, I love that feedback. Even if you were critical about it, just the fact that you're not taking some other information online from somebody else, but you're sharing your real experience. It doesn't matter if it's for better or for worse. It's that it's your experience you're sharing, and I really appreciate that. The fact that it's good, that's great. Again, I don't have a dog in the race. If you bought a mini PC I showed here, and you used my Amazon link to buy it, I made maybe $1.50 on a commission. That's not enough for me to just like twist your arm. You got to buy this. It's the greatest thing. You buy it to determine if it meets your needs, and if so, I'm happy that we're able to help each other out, you know. And if the Zen Wi-Fi 7's working for you, I think it's great. That's the point. You know, it may not be everybody's cup of tea to have a system that expensive and that capable when a simple router is all they need. But for those who do, that are that demanding, did it meet your demand? And it did? That's great to know. Thank you. Jim Sathom says, your driver backup instructions are simple to follow and work well. Just like all my instructions. Jim says, I am sometimes puzzled by the inability of people to use Google. It is a little weird, isn't it? That, I mean, I love helping people, but when people haven't even tried, at least try and then come ask for help, because a lot of times just the modicum little bit of trying does lead you to the answer. Some people just won't feed themselves. They've got to be spoon-fed, and you know, I'll tolerate that for a little bit, but eventually I'm just dropping the spoon, and if you're hungry enough, you'll eat. That's what my mother taught me. Mom, the dog's doesn't like the new dog food. Oh, that dog's not hungry. When that dog's hungry, that dog will eat. I guess I'm sounding like an old man. That's all I know. That's how I was raised. Larson said, this being a gaming machine is false. I don't think it was promoted as a gaming machine, but it will game, right? And what you game, I don't know what you're playing, what you call gaming. Do you play League of Legends? Do you play Dota 2? Are you playing Counter-Strike or World of Warcraft? Or are you playing Wukong Black Myth? Are you playing, you know what I mean? Cyberpunk. What are you playing? There's no such thing as a gaming PC in the sense that it defines what you're gaming or what level resolution you're gaming. This absolutely does game, make no mistake about it. But it's also not being promoted, and we already talked about this earlier. So I think you came in here You made some assumptions and jumped to conclusions, and apparently you think you're an expert, but don't have a YouTube channel, and we don't know who you are, but your opinion is somehow authoritarian. I'd like to know who you are and where your opinion comes from and what point of reference you would come from to make that statement. We've already covered that quite clearly, unless you weren't paying attention, weren't here, or weren't listening, such as the internet. We do appreciate interacting with you, even if it is to slightly correct. We don't know who you are. In some cases, people pop in here like there's some authoritarian figure. We don't know who they are, so yeah. Let us know who you are. Let's start with an introduction. Didn't I start this video out in every video with an introduction? I guess you don't have to do that. Doman says, is it an inability or not willing to try with Google? Well, the expression I like to use is unwilling or unable. So if somebody says, you know, if I'm in a conversation, somebody says, I can't do that. And I said, well, you and I both know you can. So the only question is if you're unable or unwilling. And if so, can I talk to somebody else? That's all. I'm not going to force anybody to do anything. If you are unwilling or unable to honor my request, just say as much. And, you know, you can either have somebody else help me, or I can go have somebody else help me. But let's just cut to the chase. I don't want to hear I can't. Oh, no, you can. You're just unwilling or unable. So let me find somebody who can. And let's not waste any more time bickering. I have other things to do. So that's just a little tip from me to you on how I get things done. F intro sport. Carey, if you weren't a tech guy, what other job would you want to have? I initially went to school to be an auto mechanic, an ASE certified auto mechanic. But having learned what I've learned, if I could go back and do it all over again, I'd find a way to try and get into Stanford and be in Silicon Valley for all the opportunities that existed in the late 80s and throughout the 90s and early 2000s, because I think I would have been involved in something big at some level. But not living in Silicon Valley and not having that education, and I didn't know, right? Boy, that would have been a whole nother life for me. I would have at least pursued an engineering degree, and sadly I did not. I think engineering is just right up my mental inclinations. Should have been an engineer. Andy says, great show today. I'm using a WoW P5 that you showed recently. Thanks, 73 Andy. What's the 73? Thank you, Andy. The P5, I think I have the WoW P5. Yeah, I've got it over here. It's one of the budget machines. And WoW, Peladin, and Triku, they're all the same company. So you can have peace of mind that the same quality of manufacturing goes in, the same warranty, the same company's back behind them. So that's the only reason I expose that. And it's pretty common with mini PCs that we see other brand names. Minisforum uses the name Atom Man on their high-end machines. And I don't think it's done to deceive anybody. I think it's a way of discerning expectations. I've complained about Kingston making crap and making good stuff, and I can't tell the crap from the good stuff. Antec also. Antec makes good stuff, and Antec, in my opinion, also makes crap. How do you tell it apart? How can I tell a customer you should buy an Antec case or a Kingston flash drive when they make crappy cases and crappy flash drives and great flash drives? How can you tell them apart? Well, what brands used to do is have a different brand name for the budget entry-level stuff versus the high-end stuff. So like you've got Ford and Lincoln and Toyota and Lexus. Or in appliances, you've got, say, Whirlpool and KitchenAid. You start really confusing a customer and diluting the value of a brand if you make both budget, entry-level, low-priced, low-quality stuff, and you also make really good high-quality stuff that's higher priced, and it's all made by the same company. How do we know? Like GE has a profile line. They have like, they could have Kingston value or Antec budget. Just something to associate quality and price away from the main brand. And so because I cannot easily explain to a customer which Antec cases to avoid or which Kingston flash drives to avoid, it's too much. It's overkill information. I just don't recommend the brands. That's the only safe bet. I'll say, get a SanDisk flash drive, you'll be fine. They're all pretty good. So I think that's the logic with Peladin and Triku and WoWe, is you have an expectation, just as GM had Pontiac as sort of a budget sports car line of cars, or Oldsmobile, you know, this has all kind of gone away, but we're starting to see a resurgence of that kind of marketing coming from these Asian manufacturers, which I am welcoming back with big open arms. Bring it on. Yes, please. I miss being able to look at Pontiac cars for that kind of a car, right? Or to look at Oldsmobile or Buick, for example, which kind of one and the same. But still, there was something to be expected of a brand instead of one brand covers everything. And then you don't know what's the good thing from the bad thing. Hyundai has Genesis, not just as the model, but as the brand. I suppose Kia as well. Nonetheless, those are just examples of that, helping customers understand which category you should be looking at, right? If I'm looking for a budget, inexpensive car, I should not be looking at Cadillac. But I can look at GM, right? I can look at other GM products. I don't think GM is deceiving anybody by offering Chevy and Buick and Cadillac, et cetera, et cetera. It's all, we all know it's GM. And in the same way, I don't think that these companies are doing anything suspicious. In fact, I prefer, let's put a family or category of products under a different name. That way, when we're shopping, we know which name we want to be looking at. And I think the name Peladin is sort of the leader of the pack. And then I think Triku is just, it's so close, but I think it's just a little bit less than. Not sure on that. And then WoWe is definitely sort of an entry-level budget line. And set your expectations accordingly to what you're going to pay and what you're going to get in return for that money. And it should always be a good value and well made. It's not an exception to that. Mark Leibowitz said, my wife plays solitaire on her Galaxy tablet. As far as she's concerned, that's a gaming machine. Fair point. John says, I'd like to be an engineer, but you are one. You know, what happened in the 90s was the term engineer started getting thrown around in ways that were not engineers. And it sort of became, it diluted the value of being an engineer. Hey, have you seen the janitor? Have you seen the garbage man? Okay, no, we have a sanitation engineer. So the guy who picks up the trash can and puts it in the back of the truck, who has a maybe a high school diploma, what is he now? He's a sanitation engineer. And you're the secretary? No, I'm the administrative assistant. Okay, hold on. So it kind of diluted it for me, because now, isn't the guy who operates the train an engineer too? I don't know what it's required to operate a train, but I know you don't steer it. You go this way and you go that way. You're not making any turns. Where's the engineering in there? Maybe there's more to it than that. I don't know. Phil Stodd said Ford and Mercury were assembled on the same assembly line. I know, I worked at the assembly plant for 27 years. Well, you know, quite frankly, you could also get a soup kitchen that's made on the same food kitchen or assembly line as a fine dining restaurant, right? And so the quality of parts that are used and what you're installing, I think you'll agree, are different. A lot of parts carry over the same, but there's enough difference in suspension and quality of materials of the interior, specifically between Ford and Lincoln, that even though you're building them on the same assembly line, you're building them with different quality components, some of the components, so that there is a difference beside just the badge. Mark Liebowitz said, more to the point, I can call myself a network engineer, but I don't have an engineering degree. Perfect example. Yeah. I'm a cable tie technician. I wrap cable ties, and that makes me a tech. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I think that's going to wrap it up for us for today. We've got on just a little over 3 hours here, but I think that gives you a relatively good overview of the Peladin product. I'm really impressed with how little this is. And in fact, I've got a customer in mind who might really appreciate this build. They've got an old Intel NUC 6th gen that we're going to have to replace in October. And I have enough experience with Peladin that I'm very comfortable putting any Peladin model in place. Same with B-Link, the same with Miniswarm. Even if it's a new model, because it's coming from a reputable manufacturer that I have experience with, I don't have any issues or concerns about, you know, making the customer a guinea pig. I'm willing to put my name and my reputation behind it no differently, and then see how it really plays out in the real world. Does it stand the test of time? Forget stress testing. The best test you can give it is putting it in the hands of a user, however they need it, and does it meet that user's demands, expectations, and budget? It's going to be different for every user. I think, from what I'm seeing here, I think I know a good home for this. And then we'll report back in time if anything is worth reporting. Like if it just goes as we expect it to and it stays in use for the next 6 or 8 years. If not, I'll have it back and I'll make a video update on it. And I don't do that for a lot of products. I have to really trust a product to put my name behind it and refer a customer to that. And this one, I feel very confident, especially for a particular customer I have in mind. I think they're going to really like this. I also want to say that fan is, I barely hear it at all. So while it's idling, it's almost silent. Yeah. Yeah, you put your ear, you can hear the ocean. It's not even that loud. So it does have quite a range between what is a very noticeable cooling fan. It's not overly loud, but definitely you'll know it's on. So right now, I can't tell it's on. Just so you know. And that's more of a concern on these really thin machines than it is on the taller machines, just as a general rule. And that's going to wrap it up for me for today. And thank you all for hanging out with me today. Also, a shout out again to the generous contributions from Charlie Purdy as well as Eric Turner. Am I saying that right? Where's my glasses? I need my glasses to find my glasses so I can see. Eric Turner. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Charlie. Also, for all your memberships, your super chats, thank you guys for making these videos possible. So I can continue to give you the insider's look here at what it's like to be on this side of the camera and deal with the customers and the good and the bad, the ugly, of what a lot of the enthusiasts don't deal with that I do. I want to share that information with you. Hopefully you find that interesting, if not at least entertaining, fascinating, what's going on behind the scenes and the work side of things. And then, where is my viewer activity? Here it is. Frankie B with $1.99. Thank you, Frankie, as always. And Charlie Purdy gave us a super chat as well. Thank you to Thomas Yeager and Find Me in Hawaii and Abdul Azim Patel for renewing their memberships. And a warm welcome to Kenneth Brown, who just signed up for membership. Or actually, he's got a 6 after his name. So maybe he left and came back for a while, but welcome back, if so. Kenneth Brown, thank you again. Our friend Mark Gaines, of course, Dustin Fuller, who also gave a contribution, as did Ken, Find Me in Hawaii. Thank you for your continued support. A shout out to our friend Buster, who I'm sure will watch the video at a more reasonable time in a different time zone in Scotland, where it's the other side of the day over there. Okay. Thank you all for hanging out with me in the chat. Everybody, I've enjoyed it. Even when I disagree or take issue with some of it, that's part of conversation. And I enjoy having it, and I enjoy having each and every one of you here. That's going to wrap it up for me for today. Thanks to Mara, of course, for all the work she does getting our thumbnails and video notes all ready for the show, moderating our chat room, as well as to our friends at SCD Keys, where you can get discounts on Windows and Microsoft Office licenses. So if I was going to activate Windows, or not Windows, if I was going to activate the version of Office on here, I would buy my key from SCD Keys. Save a lot of money. Not only that, if you enter the discount code of Carey, you get 30% off. Let me be clear. I'm not making any commission on this. Okay? I know it sounds like I must be making it. I'm not. I'm trying to save you 30%. If you're going to buy it from a reputable seller who stands behind the product and save some money. And then you can come in here and say thank you. That's all it is. So I hope you get that. I'm different from those other channels. That's what we do here. We're looking out for our community, and I hope our community looks out for us. And that'll wrap it up, and for each other. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Members only video tomorrow, 1 o'clock. If you're a member, well, I hope you'll join us. Until next time, bye for now.